shape our future. We came to feel the need
Ho, ho, ho! You're watching TBPN. Today is December 16th, Tuesday, December 16th, 2025. Merry Christmas! Ho, ho, ho! We are live from the TBPN Ultradome, the Temple of Technology, the Fortress of Finance, the capital of capital, the North Pole. The North Pole of net income. Ramp, time is money, save both.
Save both.
Easy to use corporate cards, bill payments, accounting, and a whole lot more. You know what to get for that loved one in your life this Christmas. Get them on Ramp. Introduce them to a Ramp SDR. They will appreciate it. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
It really is.
Anyway, you know what else is the gift that keeps on giving? Hiring a storyteller, which apparently is the hottest topic in Silicon Valley, thanks to our friend Katie Dayton over at the Wall Street Journal, who made this go mega viral by posting an article in the Wall Street Journal all about how startups are hiring storytellers. Companies are desperately seeking storytellers is the headline, of course. We are going to dive into it. Jordy wrote a take. If you have a storyteller, you want to tell a story, why don't you tell it on all of the streaming platforms simultaneously with Restream? One live stream, 30 plus destinations. If you want to multi-stream, go to Restream.com. Storytelling is the only way to impose meaning on abundance, says Signal. Coherence on noise, legitimacy on power, strategy, ops, and capital are all downstream. Without narrative control, none of it will ever stick. This has been one of the core premises of my account. In a world of infinite output, story is the scarce primitive. He's a very good writer, Signal. Whoever can compress chaos into something people can feel, remember, forgive, and rally around actually runs the system. This skill is worth more than the entire C-suite combined. Okay,
Whoa.
So lay off the CEO, the CFO, the CTO.
The CMO.
You just need a storyteller, you're good to go. Is that the pitch? No, people are having fun with this one. What was your take, Jordy? Break it down for me. How did you frame this? How did you process this?
I mean, should we read through the article briefly or at least summarize it?
Yeah, for sure.
So Katie writes, companies are desperately seeking storytellers. Brands trying to wrest greater control from their narratives are seeking storytelling skill sets. Without a campfire in sight. Maybe some of them have a warm hearth like we do. Anyways, corporate America's
what is the
latest
campfire thing?
Normally, you'd be telling a story.
Oh, around a campfire. Yeah, that makes
light
sense.
a fire
Okay,
and be telling a story that way.
I usually think of smoking cigars around campfires. That's what I associate. Mostly focused on the cigar.
But you like to yap between puffs.
I do.
Corporate America's latest hot job is also one of the oldest in history, storyteller. Some companies want a media relations manager by a flashier name. Others need people to produce blogs, podcasts, case studies, and more types of branded content to attract customers, investors, and potential recruits. All seem to use the word differently than in its usual application to novelists, playwrights. As storytellers, a Google job ad said last month, we play an integral role in driving customer acquisition and long-term growth. The listing sought a customer storytelling manager to join the company's Google Cloud storytelling team. That sounds like a fantastic opportunity in another life. Personally, I'd be on the Google Cloud storytelling team.
For sure.
In some ways we are. One article the unit published this year was titled Lowe's Innovation, How Vertex AI Helps Create Interactive Shopping Experiences. Microsoft security organization, meanwhile, is recruiting a senior director overseeing narrative and storytelling, described as part cybersecurity technologist, part communicator, and part marketer.
Sure.
Vanta is also hiring a storyteller. Notion recently,
Head of storytelling. At
That's
Vanta.
right.
And
Productivity apps Notion recently merged its comms, social media, and influencer functions into one 10-person team, a so-called storytelling team. And so, anyways, Katie goes on and on. She talks about how more and more of these listings are popping up. They're growing year over year. They're showing up in earnings calls.
Yeah.
And
I have a different take on this. I think as soon as there's a Wall Street, I mean, we love Katie, but as soon as there's a Wall Street Journal piece about a trend, the trend is effectively dead. And so there is no more alpha in hiring storytellers. You need to hire a yarn spinner. You need to hire a fabulist, someone who will go around to group chats and tell wild lies about your product, your company, how successful you are. You recruit this person, and then they go around seeding little anecdotes, little tall tales, and they spin yarns.
I think that's called securities fraud.
I don't know. It certainly depends. Maybe if there's no securities changing hands.
Anyway, so I went and tried
telling
to
tall
find
tales.
I tried to find a storyteller from a long time ago.
Okay.
And I found none other than the legend Steve Clayton. He's currently the vice president of Microsoft's communication strategy. But back in 2010, what was he hired for? The chief storyteller.
No way.
Of Microsoft.
They were using that term 15 years ago. That's crazy.
That title,
it feels like a very modern term.
He held that title from 2010 to June 2021. And he says, in this role, I led a team of 40 who engage in a wide variety of storytelling inside and outside Microsoft. And anyways, goes on and on. I was trying to also kind of understand from like the early 1900s to the 1950s, you had copywriters, like that it was like pretty elite to be a copywriter.
Yeah.
This was like a high status job. You were using
Don Draper. Isn't Don Draper?
He was
like,
a
more or
creative
less?
director, but also a writer.
Yeah.
And the people that he worked with were copywriters, because at that time, print media, you could being able to use your words to get people to take action that you want, that you benefit from, is a very elite skill set.
Yeah.
At some point, marketing.
Sorry, one more example that I mentioned earlier. Early storytellers in Silicon Valley. Guy Kawasaki. He was one of Apple's employees, originally responsible for marketing their Macintosh computer line in 1984. He actually popularized the word evangelist in marketing the Macintosh as an Apple evangelist, and the concepts of evangelism marketing and technology evangelism / platform evangelism in general. And he became, this idea of like word of mouth marketing, not quite storytelling, different keyword around it, but he was also sort of one of the early turning points in tech marketing. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, and around that time you started to get content strategists, right?
Yeah.
And if you look back to the 80s and 90s, it was about that was kind of like the boom of brand strategy, brand identity. Think like the Nike kind of era of marketing.
And Bology recently went viral because there was a clip from an older podcast that was reposted on X, went viral, and it was his take a few years ago during the creator economy boom, arguing that companies need a founding creator or like a
creator in residence.
It was higher than creator in residence. It was like on the co-founding team you should have a CTO and then you should have a creator. And it was like, it's an interesting thought experiment, probably good for some companies, maybe not good for every company. Like any piece of tech advice or wisdom, there's going to be a variety of cases where it makes sense. But it went viral, and everyone was saying like, "Oh, this is he's so behind." And I had to correct someone. I was like, "No. Like that clip is actually a couple of years old. When he was saying it wasn't." So it was sort of interesting that way.
Early insight.
Yeah.
Anyways, I wrote a piece for the newsletter today at tbpn.com, and of course, I titled it "You Don't Need a Storyteller." Said, according to a friend of the show, Katie, at the Wall Street Journal, companies are desperate to hire storytellers. Hiring a storyteller is not a new phenomenon, but it makes sense that companies feel the need to hire them right now. Why? Because it's never been more obvious that the best storytellers in the world create billions of dollars of value for their companies, and create massive advantages using only their words. Their words are so powerful that no matter where they appear on the internet, they draw millions of views and create a vortex of talent, capital, and customers.
There's this thing where, like, if you have a hot take, you don't actually need to own the platform. You can just go do a circuit of appearances.
A podcast tour. Anyways, I'll continue. So the reality distortion field that emerges often results in 100x PE ratios. Of course, every company in the world wants this. The problem is that it's impossible to hire the most elite storytellers because they are founders. Think Elon, Karp, and Palmer.
Yeah.
New coinage alert. I call these types Joe Rogan CEOs.
I love it.
Right? You know if you have a Joe Rogan CEO. It's fine if you don't. There's great CEOs that are not Joe Rogan CEOs.
Yep.
But there's a certain type of CEO that's a Joe Rogan CEO.
And to be clear, you're not saying that the CEO has to have the same aesthetics as Joe Rogan or the same style
Well, even
as Joe
Karp
Rogan.
has not been on Joe Rogan.
That's true.
But you know that if he went on,
he would crush.
It would be a
Electric
grand
moment.
slam. It'd be electric.
No. So it's more about being able to put on a performance in that particular environment. Makes you a
Can
Joe
you
Rogan
capture people's attention for 3 hours?
Yes.
Just like rambling,
yes.
basically.
Whereas there have been CEOs that have gone on Joe Rogan successfully, but they just haven't delivered a Joe Rogan experience.
And I think if you think about like early stage founders, who would go on and just crush Joe Rogan?
Augustus
It's like
Dorico.
Augustus. Yeah. It just
course.
like immediately comes to mind. You know who these people are, and there's CEOs, founder CEOs of his generation.
He's a JRC.
That are amazing, even though they wouldn't necessarily. They're not necessarily a JRC.
He's a JRC.
So I continue. The internet is noisier than ever with thousands of startups competing for mindshare. When every startup has a great launch video, no one does. And yet these storytellers consistently break through and dominate the timeline. Even though Gen AI allows marketing teams big and small to massively increase their output, it is often not even 1% as effective as one of these elite storyteller founders going on a podcast or just posting stream of consciousness on X. The white pill for savvy marketing teams is that even as we're seeing an exponential increase in content production, I'm not sure we're seeing an exponential increase in great ideas. That means that companies large and small that don't have the luxury of having an Elon or Palmer on the payroll still have a chance to break through the noise and be remembered. As I was personally reflecting on 2025, there were only a handful of like truly corporate storytelling moments that I remember, and each of them worked for different reasons. One, don't work at Anduril. Iconic campaign. Palmer makes like a cameo in it, but he's not the star. He's just like he's like a he's just like a character in it. But you could remove Palmer and the ad would like still carry weight. I thought that was one of the best campaigns of the year. The other one was Astronomer. Their reaction to the crisis and the viral moment they had. The campaign is titled "Thank You for Your Interest in Astronomer." It obviously featured Gwyneth Paltrow. I think this one will be studied in 10 years. It was like really a perfect reaction to that moment. And I did not know Astronomer before then. I do now. I will never forget them. I thought Ramp's expenses should do themselves with Saquon. That one was this combination of like luck, incredible execution and timing, and ultimately it just like having the Eagles got it done, and that like was the cherry on top. It was a great campaign. It was a great first Super Bowl commercial for them. Next is Keep Thinking from Anthropic. It felt like very Apple inspired. They even had the piano crashing and then sort of like reversing up, right?
Oh yeah.
Which I felt was a reference to that iPad ad in some way. And then finally, Avi Schiffman's campaign, which I call Buy Every Billboard. He literally bought every billboard. We've talked about this before, but near our office, there was a billboard that you could only see like a third of it. You could only see it say n.com because it was just facing, it was like 10 feet away from a apartment building. And so I said, friend did something absurd, which we can call the Buy Every Billboard strategy. Many people criticize the campaign and the product, but the results from an awareness standpoint are undeniable. Avi spent $1 to $2 million was my estimate and became a household name, at least on the coast. And a lot of other brands have spent like 10 times that amount, and you don't even know who they are, right? You wouldn't. Somebody could rattle off a handful of them, and you'd be like, "What?" Like, I'm actually not familiar. So that campaign was notable to me because I think if you utilize that for the right product, it could be super impactful, right? It could have I don't know if that campaign transformed Friend as a business, but it certainly put them on the map. And I think like it's very possible that billboards can have increasing returns to scale. So you might buy 2 billboards, not really see any noticeable like lift in awareness and attention and traffic. But if you buy like 200, it's sort of undeniable. You can't miss it.
We had a great result with literally 2 billboards. Could have just been 1, basically, just 1 billboard. But we were able to get a lot of photos taken of it, and so it broke through in a very interesting way. And so we probably got way more value out of that just because it was such a small, just 1 billboard. And then Avi went the opposite direction and bought every billboard. When he came on the show and was like, it's the biggest billboard campaign in history, I was like, there's no way. And then I saw it everywhere, and I was like, okay, maybe it is. But I thought it would it cost more than $1 million to get that big of a billboard buy. I thought a billboard buy of that scale would be like 10 million or 20 million, but I guess not. I guess
I know he didn't spend that much because he hasn't raised that much.
He hasn't raised that much, but I don't know. He was like financing his .com. So is it possible that he has like financing agreement to like pay these billboards down over time or something? Like,
I don't know about that. You can finance a domain because the domain gets held in like a third party custody. Yeah. And so if somebody stops making payments, you just claw back the domain. Yeah. Whereas billboards, it's like you ran the ads, you took the spot of another advertiser that could have been cashed today. So I don't really know about that. I wouldn't be surprised if Avi's levered up in more ways than one, though.
Knows?
Anyways, I said hiring a storyteller to craft narratives and tell your story internally and externally is fine. But if the goal is to be remembered and you lack a Joe Rogan CEO, remember that one great campaign is worth 10,000 posts. And yeah, I would just like to see people, companies, instead of frantically just trying to make a lot of noise in a bunch of random ways as you go into 2026, how do you have one breakout moment campaign and truly be remembered?
I like that. Yeah, that's interesting. I have more to say about that, but first let me tell you about Fall, the generative media platform for developers. Develop and fine-tune models with serverless GPUs and on-demand clusters. I'm trying to square like the problem that these job posts are trying to solve. So in the Wall Street Journal article, it says the percentage of LinkedIn job postings in the U.S. that include the term storyteller doubled in the year ending November 26th, I guess, to include some 50,000 listings under marketing and more than 20,000 job listings under media and communications that mention the term storyteller, storytelling. Executives on earnings calls and investor days mentioned it 469 times, which is like 3 times as much as 10 years ago. So clearly, people are, business leaders are interested in storytelling, both as a narrative for investors, but also as an actual physical job. But I'm wondering, like, you get in the seat, it does feel like a little bit of what this story is, what this journal article is saying is like you're going to be storytelling every single day. It's kind of counter to which I guess is what your whole point was, but it's very much counter to your point of like one big campaign, one breakthrough idea. And I'm wondering, just like, I don't know, is there a world where you need both, where you need inspiration, but you still need, like, at a certain point, there was an example here. It's like, they did a Lowe's case study on how Vertex AI helps create interactive shopping experiences. Like, is that going to be
the standout moment for me this year from Microsoft was Satya saying, "I'm happy to be a leaser, and I'm good for my 80 billion."
Yeah.
Right? So when you think about I think
what does that do for the Lowe's partnership? Like if you're this was actually Google's cloud storytelling team. They published an article, and so if they just have to get out a blog post, maybe there is some benefit to just like shifting their mindset to at least being like, hey, instead of just doing like a list of facts, like why don't you try and like tell it like a story, meaning like 3-act structure, conflict, resolution, characters, antagonists. Like, because like a lot of it sounds like a low bar.
They
but
didn't want Lowe's to have efficient cloud infrastructure.
They didn't want the shopping experiences to be interactive. But then Google came in and changed it up, changed up the game.
Yeah,
I mean, that is a little bit of it.
If I'm at a big company, if I'm an employee at a big company, it would be cool to have a centralized resource that's like, here's how we talk about this product. Here's how we talk about our mission. Here's how we talk about our roadmap in the near term and the medium term and the long term, right? But ultimately, when you think of the companies that are great at storytelling, it is because the CEO is a great storyteller.
Yes. I mean, there's two.
I would argue that Apple, who's historically been an amazing storyteller, is not currently an incredible storyteller because Tim Cook is like 11 out of 10 operationally, and he's not the guy to go on. He's not like I don't see Tim Cook popping up on a bunch of.
They're also
on a bunch
aren't
of
paying
podcasts.
him enough to go do extra stuff. Like if you're making that type of money, like you're not gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna go work on the weekends.
You're gonna 5 o'clock rolls around.
Exactly.
You're bailing.
You're bailing. But
no, so again, that's not it. It hasn't mattered.
Yeah.
Like he's told the story through the company's performance,
Yeah.
which is that he is one of the most elite operators in business history.
Last night, I feel like we had dinner with a great storyteller, and he told us his entire life story. And what was interesting and why I thought it was a really great story was two things. Like one, the facts of the story, just the truth, was a lot of up and down, a lot of conflict.
Yeah, it was riveting.
It was riveting.
Failure, wins.
He's the protagonist, but there were antagonists, and there were mentors and trials and tribulations. Like it really did fit the hero's journey. So the facts were there, and you could go fact check them and be like, oh yeah, there were these story points. But then also the way he told the story didn't hide those. There's another version of that story where he only tells you the good moments in the story, and he doesn't tell you about any of the trial and tribulations.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, yeah, we get it. You're successful. It's boring.
Yep.
Instead, we were like, whoa, like another downturn, another up, another swing. It was emotional. It was a roller coaster. It was a great story. And I feel like if there's anything that comes out of like the storyteller era of corporate marketing, it should be giving marketers, writers, storytellers permission to actually inject conflict into their marketing materials.
Yeah, look at the way that Palmer responded to that journal piece about how Anduril had a fire at one of their test sites, right? He was like, yes, we had I'm paraphrasing, but it was effectively, yes, we had a fire at the missile test site or whatever it was, at the explosives test site, right? Like, yes, and he was trying to do that. He was trying to do that in the journal article when he was talking to them, but they pulled out moments where it was like, we fail a lot.
Yeah.
Whereas Palmer was trying to tell a good story, which is like, yeah, we fail a lot because we test a lot.
Yeah.
And we're trying to iterate faster than our competitors.
Yeah.
And through that, we'll succeed. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder what the net impact of that journal article will be.
But yeah,
I think
ultimately,
I
think tech needs to fall in love with advertising again. Advertising is amazing. Like I want to see companies hiring advertising specialists.
That's funny.
Somebody that is just focused on doing really great advertising, right? Not just like, I think this gets lost because we're in this era of rapid testing, iterating through a bunch of assets, volume, right? You see this with, companies that say like, yeah, we just need to create 100 new ads for Meta every single week forever. And we're trying to get to 200, right? But in that, it can oftentimes get lost of like, what story are we telling, right? Like, what is the through line between all of this noise that we're creating and all this attention that we're getting?
Yeah. Numeral, compliance, handle. Numeral worries about sales tax and VAT compliance, so you can focus on growth. Do you think companies... We have some...
Ben made some new sound effects.
Let's have a couple.
Naughty list just got a bit longer.
What was that one?
Santa's naughty list just got a bit longer.
There's a couple other good ones.
You're surrounded by enemy snowmen. Walk it down.
You're surrounded by enemy snowmen?
Hostile drummer boy. On your 6.
Take the shot. Hostile drummer boy is very funny.
Friendly reindeer, inbound.
Friendly reindeer, inbound. I like it.
Oh, really fun. Anyways,
Okay, so do you think it's going to be hard for companies to hire great storytellers? Ties here, Bronco says the Venn diagram of people who get tech, get people, can explain complex things simply, and can make people care is tiny. So will these folks be?
I think a lot of these people actually are at advertising agencies, and if you're Coca-Cola, you've been working with hundreds of advertising agencies for decades and decades and decades, right? This has worked well for them. You're bringing in new ideas, new perspectives. You're hiring. It can be great to say, hey, we're going to give this agency like $100,000, but in exchange, we're going to get a great campaign out of it, right? So I just think people need to know what they actually want. I think what they want is to be remembered and to be thought about and to be, have certain ideas associated with their company, right? And I think just people that are like, oh, we want to be remembered, we should hire a storyteller. I don't think that's going to work really that well, right? Because I mean, for again, just because like in order to, it's about like cutting through the noise. Like you need an idea that is so good, like don't work at Anduril, that it will just break out and people will remember it, right? And people will watch a 2-minute ad.
Yeah, there's a little bit of like the, just like the story still has to be. We're talking about. We're not talking about yarn spinners. We're talking about actual real stories that potentially could be fact checked, and so you do have to do a little bit of the hard work to actually deliver some facts and some story points, which is probably why it's extremely hard to tell a compelling story as like a seed stage company, because you're a young company. That's why usually your story leans on like your backstory, like how you grew up or what you were doing before, why you quit that big cushy job to go out cross into the unknown and become the intrepid entrepreneur. I was reflecting on Keller at Zipline as having a great story this year in particular. That sort of manifested itself in Zipline's solar punk style launch video and Keller going around on different shows, coming on our show multiple times and talking about the progress of the business. But a lot of that story is just the fact that he's been running the business for a decade and it's now finally working. And it's this thing that the story of drone delivery was told a decade ago. Like I remember in San Francisco, people were saying, there was somebody who was like building a drone delivery company as like a small startup, and it would basically just be like a DJI drone that he would just like clip it to and like fly it to you. But it was like,
well, an
it's not a
example
real
also in the
business.
drone space of good storytelling is the Neros guys. So like Soren, for example, when he comes on, he's like, yeah, I was competitive drone racer.
Yeah.
It immediately doesn't matter that he's like young and doesn't have the most experience in the category.
Yeah.
But you're like, okay, the guy that is making
Yeah.
killer drones, you probably want him to be one of the best in the world at actually flying.
Yeah, I
these
completely agree with that. The hard part is that like if you don't have that background, if you don't have the plot points, if you don't have plot, then no amount of storyteller hiring can fix that.
Yeah.
If you have a boring plot, so you got to go do things.
It's easier to be a great storyteller if you have motion than if you have aura.
It is, but also, yeah, I don't know. Plot points. Plot points are things happen. Like facts occur. Like things. Soren actually competed as a drone racer. Like aura motion that ties to it, but it's really.
You're saying that adds to the aura, right? If you think about
yes.
If Soren rewind a little bit, he starts fundraising for his company.
Yeah.
Like that kind of just by that gives him a huge advantage if that's just circulating of like there's a new startup raising and the founders were competitive drone racers.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, even just like being on your second company, having sold your first company, that's just a plot point. No storyteller can come in and say like, hey, why don't we go tell everyone that you sold your last company for $1 billion? It's like, yeah, that would make your story better.
Yeah.
But it's not a fact, so you can't use it. And so,
there's always, there's always something to latch onto. I think about with the Ridge Wallet guys.
Yeah.
They never raised money.
Yeah.
There was never any hype surrounding the business.
Yeah.
And like as a storyteller, everyone's a storyteller. So when I introduce them to people, I'd be like, you should talk to Sean and Connor.
Yeah.
they've bootstrapped this business to hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue and profit by being truly elite marketers. And that like creates like a catalyst for people to be like, wow, I'm paying attention now. So
Yep. Figma, think bigger, build faster. Figma helps design and development teams build great products together. Ali is chiming in. She says, wow, 23K likes. She says, tech bro obsessed with storytelling, but hasn't read a book in the last 5 years. Probably not a good sign. A lot of the classic stories have been told again and again and again. And go back to the classics.
instead of a launch video, somebody should just write an announcement in the full hero's journey.
That actually sort of works. I mean, I would use the story circle when I would write YouTube videos. Dan Harmon's story circle it's basically like a 3-act structure, but in 8 parts. And so there's like the crossing into the void. I would try and map out all the different story beats pretty deliberately, and try and map them on there. It's hard though.
I would like to see a launch post written in verse.
Ooh,
Almost like a
getting back into
Homeric
poetry.
epic.
Yeah. I mean, Homeric. You should maybe drop an epic poem, like a true like 1,000-page book of poetry.
Or,
that's the way.
or you could drop 20 haikus on your startup.
Yeah. Graphite.dev, code review for the age of AI. Graphite helps teams on GitHub ship higher quality software faster. This really did become the current thing. There's a clue, Eric Zaworski says, there's a big clue in the middle of the viral Wall Street Journal article by Dolly Dighton that explains why the people who would otherwise crush the role of storyteller, the hot new job at hot startups, rarely get the gig in the end. As designer Stefan Sagmeister observed back in 2014, it's all the people who are not storytellers who now suddenly want to be storytellers. Interesting. He says, every so often an article like this drops, remember brands the new moat, or taste can't be taught, that lays bare the repackaging of an oft taken for granted concept in communication, human-to-human relation, just enough that it entices reaction discourse. Today, it's the idea that telling stories is an important function of extending the lifespan of companies. A familiar debate on the timeline. Many are correctly pointing out that this is nothing new. Marketing 101 always has been .jpg, it's tier stuff. So how did storytelling and an idea fundamental to our existence get Rubik's cubed into a novel optimization strategy? That is funny. Rubik's cubed is good.
Yeah, I just think a title like this
Yes.
would. I think a good test if you're trying to hire for a role like this is, would the person be, do they want the title storyteller?
Yeah.
Or would they be okay with the title copywriter? Right? Because in my view, if you're hiring somebody to be a storyteller, their job is to like write down words in a structured, impactful way, and help the entire organization like share those words in a consistent manner. And I would say a lot of people like want the title creative director, but do they want to be a project manager? Like, no, they want to be a creative director, right?
Yeah.
There's just like a status associated with that.
Yeah.
There's maybe a status associated with storyteller.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you're trying to hire for this, do you want somebody that is obsessed with
Yeah.
writing?
You should be willing to take the job of storyteller. If I come to you and you say you want to work for me as a storyteller, I say, I'm going to start you off with the title Fabulist. And if you're cool with that, then maybe we'll upgrade you to storyteller. If you're okay coming to this organization with your title being yarn spinner. Just tall tale smith.
First project, you just hand them a bunch of yarn.
Yeah,
Say, spin this for me.
Just tell me a lie. Tell me a lie about my company. Be like, you're actually a generational founder. You sold your last company for $10 billion. You're like, yeah, write the blog post and post it. Anyway, what is this? Andreessen Horowitz has a Laws of New Media coming from Marshall McLuhan, the Laws of Media, the New Science. There are 4 of these, the Laws of Media. One is it enhances awareness of inclusive structural process, obsolesces dominance of the logical method, reverses into technology, hardware becomes software, retrieves metaphor logos. That is... I like some McLuhan. Where else is this? Xerox enhances the speed of the printing press, obsolesces the assembly line book, reverses into everyone becomes a publisher, retrieves the oral tradition. That's a cool framework. I like this. Dig through, different value props, essentially. The iPhone 1, it enhanced bringing the world into yourself into the world into yourself into the world. Whoa. Obsolesces the house's home, flips the end of the individual, retrieves the nomadic hunter. What? That's weird for the... Here's one of his tetrads on the computer. The computer enhances instant replay of information. It obsolesces hardware. It retrieves hunter. It flips pattern recognition. Huh. What a fascinating framework. ChatGPT has a new image model. They just launched this. Sam Altman teased it with a photo that, at this point, him in a bunch of polos, looks great. He says most likely to launch a new image model, and Sam Altman says launching something really fun today. What is the actual announcement? How is this framed? I know the model got better.
Elf.
But what is
Elf?
But what is?
It's a good model. It's a good model, sir.
Yes. Okay. So
image 1.5.
Image 1.5. What were they on before?
There's GPT image. Now there's GPT image 1.5.
Were they on 1.0 before?
Yeah.
Okay. Today we're releasing a new version of ChatGPT images powered by our new flagship image generation model. Now, whether you're creating something from scratch or editing a photo, you'll get the output you're picturing. It makes precise edits while keeping details intact, and it's 4 times faster. That's a big deal.
That's
that is the real thing where Nano Banana's been very, very fast. They got to speed this thing up, and they clearly figured out a way to do it. Alongside, we're introducing the new images feature within ChatGPT, designed to make image generation delightful, to spark inspiration. And it is cool. It has its own little corner of the app, its own little surface area. Before I tell you more about this, let me tell you about Fin.ai, the number one AI agent for customer service. Automate the most complex customer service queries on every channel. Why is Jordy going over to the gong? It's gong worthy. Just
Fin is gone worthy.
Oh, Fin. Fantastic. So around here we have a benchmark for images, for image generation. You come to us with
a model?
New model. We're going to try and generate a Where's Waldo. And we have some Where's Waldos pulled up. And we're getting better. We're getting closer. They're not ready for prime time, though.
Not ready for print.
We didn't pass our personal internal benchmarks.
Can we pull it up?
Let's pull up this first image of this Where's Waldo. It's going to be very small, so I don't know if you'll actually be able to see that. Can you zoom in a little bit? Yes. So this is the Where's Waldo.
Okay, the important thing is that from far away, this looks
It looks like a
ready for
Where's Waldo. It looks ready to rock. Now, part of what makes Where's Waldo special is it has this unique perspective. Like it's like infinite depth of field. It's this 45-degree angle, isomorphic. It's an isomorphic image. This is not perfectly isomorphic, but it's not bad. And there's a lot of interesting detail and texture, but as you zoom in, you start noticing
It's actually isometric.
Oh, isometric. Thank you. And so as you zoom in, you start to notice that some of the people are not quite to scale, and the telltale sign of a Where's Waldo is that there is story. Back to storytellers. The creators of Where's Waldo are storytellers, because as you move around the image in the Where's Waldo, you see little scenes playing out. It will be a dog that is hungry for a ham, a Christmas ham,
and that's part of what makes it enjoyable.
As he goes for the ham, he knocks over a ladder where someone is painting and the paint bucket falls, and it tells you there's these little vignettes that are playing out.
That's what makes it enjoyable to look around for Waldo.
100%, because you notice. And in fact, if you go to the back of the book in Where's Waldo, oftentimes there will be bonus things to search for. So you will get a list of prompts for what to hunt for outside of just the main Waldo. You will also be prompted to, is this a real Waldo? Or is this an AI one?
No, you made this.
I made this one. This is
by hand?
It looks great from this direction, but as you zoom in, you'll see that you're not quite getting the level of storytelling. And also, the final check is there must be one and only one Waldo. And I'm not actually sure that this one included a Waldo of
Put
any
it back
kind.
in ChatGPT and say, "Where's Waldo?"
Where's Waldo? Can it find it? So I'm not seeing a Waldo on this one. On the beach, there are a number of people that look sort of like Waldo, but none of them have the precise like walking stick backpack.
Bullrock in the chat says, couldn't you just generate that picture and then drop in a Waldo with an edit feature, which is true. You could just say, generate a Where's
This
Waldo
might be
scene,
the
but
bull
don't
case.
include Waldo, and then
Yeah.
add him afterwards.
No, I think you're 100%.
Where's Waldo
100%
was
correct.
created by Martin Handford, a
No
British
way.
illustrator.
Yes.
He gained worldwide fame in 1987 with the release of the first book. He, prior to that, specialized in drawing massive, detailed crowd scenes for commercial clients,
Yes.
which ended up becoming the foundation of the
No
Where's
way.
Waldo series. A single illustration would take him up to 8 weeks to complete.
Wow. Remarkable.
And
And also imagine kind of like a generator verifier setup where like the generator gets better and better at generating them, and
Yes.
the verifier can find them.
Yes.
So soon you'll have kind of Where's Waldo's super intelligence.
Do you think that
Where's-
it'd be adversarial?
One could say that.
It could be generative adversarial network potentially. They could network these two together.
can we work on,
suppose.
so Martin is based in the UK,
Yeah.
he's just under 70 years old. We should get him on the show.
The creator of Where's Waldo?
Yeah.
Let's go. I
Let's
would
get
love that.
new challenge.
That would be
new
amazing.
challenge for the team. Let's get Martin
Yeah, we got to.
on the show.
But yeah, the OpenAI news, the model excels at editing, adding, subtracting, combining, blending, transposing. It seems very clear that with a little bit of a harness, dare I say a wrapper, you could in fact create a proper Where's Waldo, but you probably need to generate the images tile by tile, one tile at a time, and kind of work piece by piece, and then combined it all, blend it all together. And then yes, you probably want to add one Waldo at the very end in some random spot, but you would not want to just one shot the full image because it's still a little bit too complex. But it's remarkable. I mean, these images are remarkable, and yet there's still room for improvement. It's crazy. It's like every time we see one of these, I'm like, okay, this is the final thing. We're done. It's good enough. It's great. And then another year goes by, and there's more challenges.
Pull
more
up
to
this post that says also a very fun way to use it to easily get fun images, and then scroll down. I thought this was somebody messing with Sam as a reply, but it is Sam himself as a firefighter with a calendar. And then there's a Sora video from Ramp Capital. Let's pull it up.
Huh. That's funny. I'm the product.
Oh, it's showing up in my replies, but not your replies. I'll put it at.
Odd. Yeah, going back to the OpenAI announces ChatGPT images, creative transformations. The model's creativity shines through transformations that change and add elements. Here, let's play this one. Well, this is not. What does it say?
Impressive.
Oh,
Very nice.
that's pretty funny. I like it.
Now let's see more slop.
The ability to use Sora to make jokes at Sam's expense is truly new territory for. I mean, I guess there were probably people that were in MS Paint making fun of Bill Gates back in like the 90s, but
Mocking him.
yeah, mocking him, and he's just like, you wrote this takedown of me in Word, like you wouldn't have been able to do this without me. But the feedback loop, the iteration cycle is like way faster there. Let me tell you about Cognition. They're the team behind the AI software engineer Devin. Crush your backlog with a personal AI engineering team. So these transformations work on both simple and more intricate concepts and are easy to try using preset styles and ideas in the new ChatGPT images feature. No written prompt required. That's very interesting. So in an effort to make it easier to prompt, we are now instantiating more UI. So as that image shows you, it's like...
As the models get better, we need more SaaS.
Yeah, it's something like that. It's just that like it is. I mean, this was David Holz's insight during the Midjourney boom was that if you gave someone a blank text box and said, "This is a magical text box. It's artificial intelligence. It can generate an image of anything," they would just type like dog, and they would just get a picture of a dog. And the picture of the dog was so photorealistic, it was just like, okay, cool. You could go to Google Images and get that. Like, what is special about this? There's nothing special about it because, like, we have images of dogs. Like, yes, it's amazing that a computer can generate it from nothing. Like, that's remarkable.
Can always
but
have
that,
more.
But that fades away. And so, and he was like, then you ask them again, oh, you can do anything and be like, dog, happy dog, you know, and the people just weren't fully inspired. And so the beauty of Midjourney was putting everything in this big chat room on Discord so that
Letting people inspire each other.
Yeah. And it became this collaborative thing. And so with this, it feels like OpenAI and the ChatGPT app are definitely sort of embracing this idea that you will need to bring a little bit of idea generation. I mean, on when images in ChatGPT launched for the first time, I wasn't the person that came up with the idea of Studio Ghibli. I needed to see that. And then once someone told me this is a great prompt, I was like, okay, I'm in. I'm going to go create a few more. I needed a jumping off point. And they're bringing that jumping off point to their users in the images tab. And you know there's going to be Disney in there pretty soon. And that's going to be very cool, as you wrote in the newsletter last
Ty in the X chat says, no beards.
I've never seen
Beards are coming. Beards are coming.
Well, thank you for supporting the coziest podcast in all of in the entire world right now. We really complete victory on the cozy maxing. We've been going back and forth on, well, does it look ridiculous? Yeah, I think the answer is yes.
And that's why we do it.
But Merry Christmas to everyone, and only a few more days. One really good Christmas gift: Turbo Puffer, serverless vector and full text search for grandma, for your grandma.
This is
built on
fantastic.
I know your grandma's saying, you get me a sweater every year. Well, this year, what about
the
serverless vector
and
full text?
Exactly.
She's going to be
linear.
Yeah. She's
right?
gonna ask. She's gonna unbox Turbo Puffer and she's gonna say, "Well, is it built from first principles on object storage?" You're gonna be able to say yes.
And she's gonna say, "Does Notion use
yes.
this? Does Notion use this?"
Yes.
You're gonna be able to say yes.
Yes. She's gonna say, "Well, is it extremely scalable?"
Absolutely.
That's what most grandparents care about when it comes to Christmas
Scalability.
presents. Scalability. They want something scalable. They want something fast. And they definitely want it to be 10x cheaper. And so get your grandmother Turbo Puffer this Christmas. Get them
Bobby already got his grandma Turbo Puffer. He says she's going to be so happy.
That's amazing.
OpenAI hires an executive from Google to lead M&A, according to Walter Bloomberg, according to the information. More notably, OpenAI comms chief Hannah Wong is departing the company.
Okay.
This came out yesterday. She's stepping down. She's going to depart the company at the end of January. Axios says Why It Matters Wong was the AI giant's first chief comms officer and guided the company through the launch of ChatGPT, heightened regulatory scrutiny, controversies, and a slew of deals and lawsuits. The bigger picture, her departure comes as the company is pushing on a variety of fronts. From 1.4 trillion.
Do you think that she asked for the Storyteller title and she didn't get it, so she quit in protest?
Very, very possibly, John.
Possible.
It's very possible.
Like,
yeah, I feel like she deserves like a little bit of a vacation at this point. I can't think of a more stressful job since 2021.
Some gray hair.
As the OpenAI top comms role. She joined OpenAI from Apple in 2021. And anyways, so vesting cliff reached.
Well, first off, let me tell you about public.com investing for those that take it seriously. They got multi-asset investing, and they're trusted by millions. Speaking of Merry Christmas, there is a fantastic article in the Wall Street Journal. We got to go through it in the business and finance section. It says, advertisers start Christmas season early. This was written for us. This is fantastic news. Brands chase inflation-weary shoppers with plentiful TV spots. There's a whole bunch of interesting stats in here. And so it starts with a very controversial question. It says, are you tired of Santas and relentlessly cheerful snowmen filling every screen?
No.
It says, blame the advertisers. This is so funny. Advertisers kicked off the holiday season even earlier this year, and they are inundating televisions with commercials. The activity comes despite continuing efforts by many businesses to rein in costs to contend with tariffs. Holiday TV ads started in earnest in early October, and companies have spent a combined $1.47 billion over the past 9 weeks, a 13% jump compared with the year ago period, according to ad tracker iSpot. So keep this in mind. 1.47 billion on holiday TV ads. Guess how much holiday retail sales are expected to be this year?
Counting Black Friday?
Everything.
What do you mean?
It's big.
All retail spend?
Holiday
Are you asking
retail
for all
sales.
retail spend in Q4, or do I have to like pull out grocery and
Sales from November and December each year.
does it include grocery spending, food
I
spending?
don't know. I think it might include everything. I'll give you a hint. In 2020, it was 0.7 trillion, 700 billion. Then it went to 850 billion, then 900, then 950. Last year came in around 99, something really close. What was it? It was 0.98 trillion, $980 billion. This year, it's expected to be over $1 trillion. We got to hit the gong for that.
Hit
That
it.
is some fantastic news for this holiday season. Truly the first holiday season in history that will be over $1 trillion. There's a bunch of interesting facts in here. So. There are massive investments in digital promotions, flooding social media, email inboxes, and text messages. So, of course, the 1.47 billion that's happening on TV is just a small slice of the overall advertising that's happening this holiday season. Retailers spent 5.8 billion on digital ads in the U.S. from November 1st to November 7th, a 4% increase from last year. Holiday shopping season remains a critical moment for retailers, with inflation still weighing on household budgets, but brands aren't taking any chances of losing out on the action. The National Retail Federation is projecting.
Let's give it up for the
that
National Retail
holiday
Federation.
sales will surpass $1 trillion. A handful of retailers are proving particularly busy on the TV ad front so far. Walmart's ads feature a Dr. Seuss-inspired world starring Walter Goggins as the Grinch. Target, meanwhile, brings back Chris K., a jolly, bearded Christmas enthusiast introduced in a 2024 campaign. In Target's spot, a woman with whom he is on a coffee date gets a peek at his gift list and leaves him confused by referencing his naughty list. Interesting. Amazon.com. This is the most interesting stat. So total minutes of U.S. advertising by retailer. So Amazon last year was, in 2023, they were around 7,000 minutes of U.S. TV advertising. And to be clear, that's right in line with Walmart. Target was around 6,000, 7,000 minutes. Macy's was around 6,000, 7,000 minutes.
The joke's old.
Even Verizon.
It's an old joke now, John. Stop making it.
What
You
joke?
said 6, 7.
Oh, yeah. That is ridiculous. That's actually where it is. But they doubled in 2025. They went to 14,000 minutes.
Whoa.
Yeah, they went up to so Amazon has doubled the amount that they're spending on TV advertising.
AB in the chat said Coca-Cola invented the red and white Santa. I was trying
Is that true?
to fact check it a little bit. Apparently, it's an urban legend that Coca-Cola invented the red and white Santa. In reality, Santa Claus was already appearing in red suits long before he appeared in soda advertisements. But apparently, they did standardize the Santa look. Right, they're spending probably more on advertising than most other companies in the world for like many decades. Right, they had an opportunity to really define the look. Define the look that we are delivering.
Delivering today. Let me tell you about ADIO, the AI native CRM. ADIO builds, scales, and grows your company to the next level. Friendly reindeer? I'm glad. It's good to hear that it's a friendly reindeer.
Did you see the Journal going after CoreWeave?
Yeah, yes, we should get to that. Well, there's one last stat that we need to share. I mean, basically, it's like there's a lot of jitters in the economy as AI overheated. We're going to go into the CoreWeave story, but overall, the health of the consumer seems to be good. Holiday retail sales are higher than ever in history and over $1 trillion now. Everyone's advertising. There's one interesting stat in here, which is at the bottom of this Wall Street Journal article. They polled consumers, how do you feel about the timing of holiday ads? And so when holiday ads start. So Amazon, one of the largest advertisers in the country, aired its first holiday TV ad on October 13th.
Okay, but
So
you gotta give me more. Was Santa in the ad? Because I'm kind of a purist. I like to go full speed ahead on the Christmas spirit the day after Thanksgiving.
Day after Thanksgiving, Black Friday.
I got our tree.
Yes.
We went and got our tree.
Yes.
On Black Friday.
Yes.
And that just feels like the right moment.
Yes.
Right? I like to have enough.
So you don't want to see Santa until
I don't want to see
the
him.
day after Thanksgiving.
But then I want to see him everywhere.
Yeah, of course.
Like
I
0 to
agree. It
100.
should be 0 to 100. So I'm with you. I generally agree with that. Tyler, how do you feel? When is it
I
appropriate
concur,
to see
after Thanksgiving.
after Thanksgiving?
But anytime before, I can't even listen to them.
Okay, so I will describe the ad, and we could potentially pull it up here, but Amazon Home for the Holidays was the name of the ad. So let me. Oh, damn it.
We got more
says-
Christmas lore in the chat.
Oh, we
Red
do?
and white Santa is because of Amanita muscaria mushrooms.
Huh?
Reindeer eat them.
What? What is that? Okay. Anyway.
No, I can see. You know the red and white mushrooms.
I know candy canes. Sugar plum fairies. So October 13th, they run an ad. It shows a college student arriving home to see that their childhood bedroom now contains a treadmill with her father running on it awkwardly, wearing short shorts. The young woman checks the Amazon app for more appropriate workout gear, and it's called Home for the Holidays. So no Santa, at least that I can tell from this ad. We can actually pull this up here. The Amazon TV spot, Home for the Holidays. Maybe it's not playing. Oh, it is. It is here. I have it here. If we can pull it up. Yeah. So we need to determine whether or not Jordy. Why are we zooming out like this? We need to determine whether or not Jordy decides that this ad is too early. And so let's pull up the Amazon TV spot.
On our
Home
side,
for
we
the
have been
Holidays.
drinking this podcast in a can all year.
Yes.
Right? It's very Christmas themed.
Okay, I think we have it here. So Jordy, based on this, what is the earliest day you could
no,
run
I'm
this?
getting red flags already.
Red flags already. Okay, play it.
You're home for the holidays. You've dreamt of this moment. Back in your old
What?
room. Oh,
Hey, kiddo, I'll be right there.
at least you can get a deal on new shorts for Dad. Something with a little more coverage.
There's no
Way
Santa.
too early. Way
There's no
too early.
Santa. You think that's too early? What's the earliest day? You wouldn't even run that before Thanksgiving?
And that's like It's like almost 2 months before winter.
It's before. I mean, they ran it before Halloween.
Well, so yeah, I mean, this is October. There are some places in the U.S. where it snows in October, right?
Yeah.
If you go up to Alaska, this could be like this could be the college students' fall break.
Yeah, this could be
coming back for a
Anchorage.
weekend.
They could be targeting Anchorage.
Yeah.
Or Juneau.
Yeah, we don't know
knows?
where it ran. So I did find an article from the Fungi Foundation called "The Influence of Hallucinogenic Mushrooms on Christmas. The story of Santa Claus is not the creation of Coca-Cola, nor Saint Nick, or a children's story. It exists because of a small living being with great powers, the Amanita muscaria mushroom."
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna go out on a limb and say like the Fungi Foundation might have a little bias built.
Are you doing this research on Gemini 3 Pro, Google's most intelligent model yet? State-of-the-art reasoning, next level vibe coding, and deep multimodal understanding. Why don't you vibe code something for your family for Christmas? So would you say that the Christmas ads are A, much too early, B, slightly too early, C, about the right time, slightly too late, or much too late? in terms of the timing of holiday ads this year?
I think you can start doing holiday advertising without putting snow on the ground and without.
How would you do that? Wait, describe a holiday ad that doesn't at least have a little bit of snow.
I would like to see Amazon do a plain text ad that's Star Wars style, where the text is just scrolling and it's like,
scrolls.
get ready to buy stuff. This
Okay.
is about to be the Super Bowl of just buying stuff.
Yeah.
Do it on Amazon.com.
Okay.
It's time to buy.
Time to buy. It's time to buy. It sounds like you think that the holiday ads are at least slightly too early, maybe much too early.
Much
or,
too early.
Or do you think it's about the right time?
I think Amazon should start dropping
Yeah.
$1 billion on ads just on Black Friday. I mean, they probably already do.
Because this is the interesting stat from here. They polled a bunch of consumers and boomers complained the most about the ads being too early. We're all the boomers.
Because they're locked in. They're paying.
For Gen Z, over 50% said, yeah, Christmas in October is great. Sits perfectly with me. Only 20-something% of boomers said, yeah, the holiday ads are about the right time. Whereas over 25%, 30% of boomers said the ads are much too early. Only 10% of Gen Z said.
How many said that they were too late? Did any say that?
Yes, millennials. Millennials actually led the whole pack by saying 4% of millennials said that the holiday ads started too late this year, which is funny. Gen Z only 2% were in the too late camp, basically.
AB
and the
says,
boomers actually less than 2% of them said slightly too late. They were all saying too early.
Did they hate Christmas?
The boomers? Yeah. I
AB
guess.
in the chat says Santa discovered ChatGPT and now Christmas is 30% faster and the elves are unemployed. Trey says every time Jordy pushes back on when Christmas starts, I'm going to move it up 1 month. It starts September 1st now.
September 1st is great. September 1st. Let's.
Here's
Yeah.
I would like to see Coca-Cola
Yeah.
get a blimp.
Maker.
You know, I'm a blimp maxi.
Love-
I want to see more companies leveraging blimps for marketing. They get a blimp,
Yeah.
but they hang a sleigh and a bunch of reindeers, and so they fly the blimps in the crowd, and they have sort of like clear, wiring so that it just looks like Santa's flying over the United States.
Okay.
Somebody's got to do it.
I like it.
Well, let's talk about CoreWeave's
Talk about
staggering
CoreWeave, but first let's
fall.
talk about Julius AI, the AI data analyst that works for you. Join millions who use Julius to connect their data, ask questions, and get insights in seconds.
Very aggressive title. CoreWeave's staggering fall from market grace highlights AI bubble fears. The data center provider's terrible 6-week slides picked up speed when a famous short seller piled concerns on top of delays. CoreWeave's value dropped by $33 billion due to AI bubble concerns, a failed merger, and short seller criticism. CoreWeave, the largest of a new breed of companies driving the AI boom, has watched $33 billion of value vaporize in 6 weeks. The share price plunge of 46% comes as investors worry about a possible AI bubble, the fallout from a failed merger, and public criticism from high-profile seller Jim Chanos, known for predicting the collapse of Enron.
Yeah.
But some of the high-tech companies' biggest problems began with a very low-tech nuisance, unexpected turbulent rainstorms in North Texas.
Oh.
Over the summer, heavy rains and winds caused a roughly 60-day delay at a construction site in Denton, a small city north of Dallas, preventing contractors from pouring concrete for a major complex. As a result, the completion date for the huge data center cluster, consisting of about 260 megawatts of computing power that CoreWeave plans to lease to OpenAI, has been pushed back several months. There were additional delays caused by revisions to design plans for some of the data centers a partner is building for CoreWeave in Texas and elsewhere, according to filings. The slowdown was compounded by mixed messaging from CoreWeave's chief executive officer, Michael, which spooked investors and accelerated the company's share price decline at a particularly vulnerable moment for the AI trade. CoreWeave's business model involves using high-interest debt to buy thousands of advanced chips from NVIDIA, installing them in server racks inside data centers that it leases from third-party landlords, then renting access to the chips. As capital spending on infra has intensified, CoreWeave, which is 7% owned by NVIDIA and backed by hedge funds such as Magnetar Capital and Coatue Management, has become the standard bear for both the promise and the risk of the AI boom. Some critics point to the high levels of debt it has taken on to finance its data center build-out, while others worry that the company depends on just a handful of large customers, such as OpenAI, Microsoft, and Meta, for the bulk of its revenue. CoreWeave saw sales more than double in the most recent quarter to nearly $1.4 billion from $500 million a year earlier, but the company is unprofitable and lost $110 million in its most recent quarter. In early November, before the construction delays were widely discussed, Intrator played down fears of an AI bubble at a Wall Street Journal event in Northern California. If you're building something that accelerates the economy and has fundamental value to the world, and the world will find ways to finance an enormous amount of business. He said, adding that the number of buyers of data center computing services had convinced him that there is not a bubble inflating.
I think this was the same Wall Street Journal event where Sarah Fryer made the backstock comment that sort of went super viral. I think this quote is actually pretty reasonable. This is something that I agree with. The question is always just like the dance of like, how much is it accelerating the economy? Is it showing up in the economic statistics yet? How much value is there being created? And then how are you financing that? Because naturally the capital markets will push everything to the edge. And if you're underwriting it against 10% GDP growth and that doesn't show up, you could have a bad time. But if it's more like, oh yeah, like, you know, new SaaS boom, bunch of great companies building on top of us, like.
I think it's super important to put it into context too. Their last private valuation in November 2024 was $650 million secondary. Jane Street was in that Magnetar. So again, the company today is at a $34 billion valuation. So meaningful premium from the last private round.
Private round? Like it was in the tens of billions.
23 billion.
So it's still up 50% since the last private round, but it's round trips.
Yeah, it was seven in December. Seven in December of 2023.
And I mean, even just today, the stock's
23 in
down 5%,
November
so
2024.
Rough go.
Anyways, it's a lot of debt, but it's a lot of demand.
Yeah.
It was interesting. Yesterday, there was a pretty viral post from an account called Hunter Brook.
Okay.
They said Bethany McLean broke the Enron scandal. Tomorrow, she publishes her first investigation for Hunter Brook on a company that may epitomize the AI bubble. Sign up. And
did they say what it is? Or is it
and then they shared it this morning. So I'm expecting, like, she broke the Enron scandal. Her new investigation is on the company that epitomizes the AI bubble. And the company is
saw something.
RadNet.
Whoa. Okay.
Do you know the company?
No.
I wasn't familiar.
I'm not familiar.
I'm somewhat of a bubble enthusiast.
Yes,
I used to pray for a bubble.
And I did see a clip of her talking about how it's not the hyperscalers. So it's kind of like we're on the hunt for the
So
the
RadNet is as of today, it traded down on this report. It's a $5.37 billion company. I was expecting something in the $100 to trillion range, right? I wanted some real meat.
Yeah.
Didn't get that. Hunter Brook says RadNet, the AI story that doesn't add up.
It's a radiology firm?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, but again, like this company, we'll dig into it, but again, this company, like collapsing wouldn't make a dent in the broader kind of like AI trade.
Yeah, there's like 25 different funds that could just write this off and be like, yeah, zeros are part of the game. You know, like
Anyway, so Hunter Brook says RadNet's much hyped AI business is a sideshow. Less than 5% of the medical imaging company's revenue, about $65 million out of $1.5 billion in the first 9 months of 2025, comes from its newfangled digital health division. Much of that division's revenue and 2/3 of its reported revenue growth, excluding recent acquisitions, come from selling software to RadNet's own imaging center. RadNet also charges mammogram patients $40 for an AI read using technology that experts say is commoditized.
Okay.
Again, I'm
also,
not seeing anything.
Clear, the pre-AI stock price of this company was around $20 a share. Now it's at $70 a share, something like that. And so you have seen like a 3x pump. Like the stock has definitely benefited from the AI narrative, if that's what they're alleging. But it's you know, you're gonna have to do better if you're gonna try and bring down the entire global economy. you got to service up something that's worth at least $100 billion. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, somewhat of a clickbait. And yet the company's stock has soared in value since its AI rebrand, trading at a much higher multiple than historic norms and competitors.
Yeah.
And so again, I think
Okay. Well, let's tell everyone about Privy. Privy makes it easy to build on crypto rails, securely spin up white label wallets, sign transactions, and integrate on-chain infrastructure all through one simple API. There is interesting, everyone's been hunting for the Enron of this cycle because there was one in the past. There must be another one. We, of course, were joking around doing the letters lining up from OpenAI or NVIDIA or whatever, when those are obviously very real businesses and no one is alleging that they are doing anything inappropriate. It's more just like, how fast will they grow? Will they be complete winners forever? Will they face competition? Those are the questions that people are asking. But Buco Capital Bloke had a good rebuttal to this question of, is it possible to argue that AI is not a bubble right now? Someone in the chat was putting AI bubble in quotes kind of sarcastically. Well, Buco Capital is arguing that AI is not a bubble. He says real businesses are seeing real impact from AI. Coding and tech support help are the two clear immediate role beneficiaries. Advertising is another clear beneficiary. Meta has talked about it in detail. We, of course, are sponsored by Profound. You can get your brand mentioned in ChatGPT, reach millions of consumers who use AI to discover new products and brands. Traditional, boring companies like C.H. Robinson are pointing to AI and agentic workflows as making them more efficient. The market is responding quite rationally and scrutinizing these AI input companies diligently. See Broadcom and Oracle this past week. So that is the sign of, I agree with him. Like the fact, people are taking a victory lap dunking on Oracle. It's like, this is how the market should be working. Like it should sort of be like, okay, we're regarding this future RPO 5 years out with some skepticism. We're not going to give you that much credit for it up front. You got to actually deliver some real value. You got to get some cash flow into the business. You got to actually deliver on those on the build out that you're promising. We're not just going to, moon your stock because you said the biggest number, right? Mag 7 minus Tesla have reasonable valuations, and the hyperscalers have more demand than they can handle. He says, I've been vocal that indiscriminately gunning all AI input companies is a dumb thing to do, again, as Oracle, Broadcom, NeoClouds have shown this last week, but it doesn't mean AI is a bubble. I like it. I think it's a good take, but Duchamp is
it's interesting going back to this RadNet analysis,
Sure.
saying that they also charge mammogram patients $40 for an AI read using technology that experts say is commoditized. It's like, how is that? Like they're positioning that as a bad thing when this company clearly has distribution and they're just going to like vend in technology into that, and it doesn't. Like I don't. That's like it's basically making the argument that like a rapper can never have value when clearly like they have a captive audience here. Yeah, and they can put in commodity technology and charge premium for it.
Yeah, there's a huge incentive once everyone is giving the stuff's overvalued take to then move into the like it's fraud, it's crime take. But the bar for that is so much higher because it's legal. Like obviously, like anything can be overvalued or undervalued at any moment in time. But fraud is very much like binary. Like the company's either cooking the books or they aren't. Anyway, let me tell you about Vanta. So you got to stay compliant. Automate compliance and security. AI that powers everything from evidence collection and continuous monitoring to security reviews and vendor risk. Let's move on to the EV debate. Tomorrow, I want to get into how Rivian beat Ford in trucks, in electric trucks. That seems crazy to me. I want to get to the bottom of it, but there's a little bit of an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal that I thought it might be useful to go through as some extra context. They say Ford learns a brutal.
This one.
You're taking the gloves off?
No, I'm putting the gloves on.
Putting the gloves on. What? Wouldn't you be taking the gloves off? To fight it out?
I don't know if we're going to be fighting yet.
Okay. Maybe we'll be agreeing. Ford learns a brutal EV lesson. The car maker takes a $19.5 billion write-down on its electric vehicle business. And in this op-ed, they say, not long ago, automakers were touting electric cars as the future. Well, now they are slamming the brakes hard on that future as market reality has hit them like a 16-wheeler. See Ford Motors' stunning announcement Monday that it will take a $19.5 billion charge on its electric vehicle business instead of plowing, quote, instead of plowing billions into the future, knowing these large EVs will never make money, we are pivoting, Ford CEO Jim Farley said as he explained the company's plan to boost its lineup of gas-powered cars and hybrids. Ford will also scrap its all-electric F-150 Lightning pickup.
Full scrap.
Which has been full scrap. They're not
Wow.
going to sell them anymore, which has
Wow.
been a favorite of the EV-loving press. So it got very good reviews, and obviously it was positioned in this interesting way. It has the aesthetics of the F-150. It doesn't have the baggage of the Elon brand, although does that really matter to the F-150 buyer? It's so complicated. I just hope they make a Raptor. Raptor R, the high performance version of the F-150. Of
course.
They need to do the Raptor R Plus with a V12. That's
You
what
wouldn't
should
want it
go.
to be the R Max.
R Max would be good too. So Ford has lost $13 billion on its EV business since 2023, with bigger losses expected in years to come. Last year, Ford lost about $50,000 for each EV sold. Wow, that's so much money to lose. On a
Don't
single
do that.
car. The truth is that the business case for EVs has always rested largely on government subsidies and mandates. Now that this combination of government favoritism and coercion is mostly going away, most car makers have much less reason to make EVs. I was listening to an interview with the CEO of Ford yesterday, and he was talking about some of the challenges of the supply chain. Like I think that they're doing it sort of like almost a JV with a Chinese company that has IP around battery manufacturing, but they're going to make them in the United States. And so they're very much negotiating, like, how do we get this new technology that we haven't been really developing? This hasn't been in our DNA for 20 years. We got to get up to speed, but it's been very costly because they have to pay everyone all up and down the supply chain, and then deal with tariffs and deal with geopolitical considerations and all this other stuff. So the Biden administration sought to force feed the EV transition with ramped up fuel economy and greenhouse gas emission rules. Car makers were required to produce increasing number of EVs, which they had to sell at a loss because consumer demand was weak. The Inflation Reduction Act's $7,500 EV tax credit boosted demand, but not enough to make the cars profitable. This year's GOP tax bill eliminated the tax credit in October, causing demand to fall off a cliff.
Yeah, I was talking to a buddy on Saturday who manages a group of dealerships around LA, and he was saying that the market generally has been brutal for cars this year. You've had just like chaos and uncertainty around tariffs, and then also there was a huge boom right before the tax credit ended, and then everything fell off a cliff.
Yeah. The deregulation has enabled Ford to cut its losses, sizable as they are. A $19.5 billion charge will hurt, but it's better than spending tens of billions of more dollars on making cars that are not enough. That not enough Americans want to buy. Ford can focus its investments on gas-powered trucks and SUVs that are popular with customers and earn, dare we say the forbidden word, profits. If Ford makes more money, workers also make more in profit sharing. General Motors this fall also rolled back its EV plans and took a $1.6 billion charge, way less. The American car industry would be stronger today had its CEOs not embarked on the EV joyride with politicians promising subsidies. So yeah, always dangerous to over-rotate on a government mandate or government action because we change governments every couple of years. That's the nature of America, democracy. What might
So you don't
be
think Ford should
loved.
over-rotate and get maybe 4 V12s into a single Raptor, like put them
I was
at an
thinking they'd do
angle
it
like they do with the
W16,
Bugatti. Yeah,
really.
the
Like the
Bugatti,
Bugatti.
but just do it like copy and paste a few more times.
Yes,
is what I'm
definitely.
saying. Something there.
Something 8 liter.
The
9
front of the
liter.
car looks like a train.
Exactly.
And it's just
This is
engine.
This is the goal. This is what they should go for. To more seriously investigate it, like, can you think of a way that that the Ford F1 Lightning would have been successful? Like, it doesn't seem like it was like wildly mispriced. It doesn't seem like it was. I mean, it had a classic silhouette. So it wasn't like the Cybertruck hasn't been selling fantastically well, but it's like so bold that you could easily say, well, okay, it's not doing that well because it's such an edgy choice. It's such a bold design decision. Like you have to really want to yell to everyone, like I own a Cybertruck.
Yeah.
You can get an F-150 Lightning, and unless someone's really checking out the badge, they're just gonna be like, oh, truck, you know?
I don't know. I disagree.
Okay.
I think real ball knowers can clock that from a quarter mile away.
Okay.
It's nuanced.
Yeah.
But I can clock a Lightning over a
Because you see the
normal
little
F-150.
blue trim.
Yeah, it's just you can just.
I
tell.
know you can, but is that? But it has to be. So would you have gone crazier in the design and put more distance between the Lightning and the classic F-150?
I think maybe. I also think like truck buyers, it's very possible that they're making purchasing decisions not for how the average person views it, but how other truck buyers are going to view it, right? There's so much like, oh, you have a TRX.
I think that's true for
you have a
almost every
TRX.
category.
Yeah, very much
even
so.
even in like the mid-size
Yeah, or
sedan,
look at
people think about, like,
handbags.
what does
Like,
it say
you
about
see
you?
a handbag.
Yeah.
Your wife might see like,
I mean,
oh, that's
every
that's a
car
Birkin,
goes
or
the
that's
speed
this
limit
or that.
now. There is no real argument for, oh, I need this car because it's like more
performance.
efficient or something like that. Yeah, like they all go the speed limit. They all basically get you from point A to B in the right time. So it becomes very quickly about some differentiation in amenities, but really the brand and what it says about you. And
The silhouette, the trim.
the silhouette, and so maybe they needed to go more like it's even more obvious that you made the eco-friendly choice. But again, I think that the truck buyer just is not interested in signaling I made the eco-friendly choice at all, and that seems very intuitive to me. Am I crazy? But like I know that like the reason everyone went after trucks was because it's just such a big market. Americans buy so many trucks. You had to go after that market, and Rivian wound up winning it. Essentially, it seems like. But it is weird that Ford wasn't able to break through. I guess it's just like their core customers weren't able to get over the hurdle to actually get into the brand.
I'm gonna try to figure out how many Rivian trucks actually sold.
Yeah. We'll have to pull up all the data and run through it maybe tomorrow. But
I'm pulling it up if you want to.
so in other news, I mean, we can move on from this. We have our guest joining in just a few minutes. In other news, SpaceX is now initiating a bake-off to select which investment banks will advise on its planned 2026 IPO. They are very much moving forward with the IPO. It feels very real. It does feel like there's a bit of a race between SpaceX and OpenAI to some degree, but SpaceX has to be set up for this. Like they have to be, there's a whole, whenever you talk to somebody about going public, they're always talking about, well, the financial requirements are much more onerous. Like you need to be really, like reconciling your books, like understanding the business. Like you need to be, really mature CFO operation, office of the CFO needs to be really dialed in. You probably need, clarity about whether or not you're a for-profit or a non-profit, right? And you have to imagine that SpaceX has been effectively ready to go IPO at any moment in time for a decade because it's just been such a real business. And they've been working with the government. And so the government comes in and says, wait, we want to know that you are actually generating real revenue or you're not cooking the books if we're going to be working with you, all that other stuff. So we'll see.
I just want to take a second to give it up for everyone out there that's currently in a bake-off. No matter what side you're on, I just want you to know we are rooting for you.
Like a Christmas cookie bake-off?
Yeah, a lot of people this time of year, they're winding down. But some people are just getting started on some of these bake-offs, right? There's going to be intense, it's going to be intense all the way through the end of the year. So just wanted to give a shout out to the bankers.
Well,
You're not getting enough love.
If you're a banker, get yourself a nice luxury watch on getbezel.com. Shop over 26,000 luxury watches, fully authenticated in-house by Bezel's team of experts. Bilal asks Bill Gurley, shouldn't SpaceX just do a direct listing? And Bill Gurley says 100%. I would love to know how that will actually play out. If what the decision making will be, because it has to be. I mean, you imagine an Elon stock, like the chance that it moons on day one is like, it feels guaranteed, right?
Yeah. So the question is, I don't know.
It just feels like
so looking at Figma's IPO, right? They did not raise very much money in the actual IPO, right? So they priced it around, it was around 20, like, forget, it was something around $20 billion valuation.
Yeah.
It immediately popped like crazy.
Did.
But people were like, oh, you're leaving a lot of money on the table, but they never had an intention of, they wanted to price the business fairly. So of course people that invested pre-IPO in that pre-IPO round, right, or as part of the IPO benefited a lot. But again, there's very real possibility that they, like, Elon wants to sell the incremental 30, like raise the 30 billion at 1.5, and I could see there being that much demand.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if you're an investor who's supposed to potentially come in as permanent capital, stay as an investor for a very long time, even in the public markets. If you come in at a lower cost basis, even if the stock moons and then round trips, you're like, okay, well, like I'm still kind of where I was. I'm not day trading it. My point is to like hold this company, not trade it, own it, not trade it. And so I could imagine a situation where we're going out at a logical price, even if you miss the pop and then round trip, could be good for keeping those types of investors on board.
I just don't think people are prepared for it to price at 1.5 trillion and go to 3 on the day of the IPO.
That would be very, very crazy, but it could happen. I mean, anything can happen with Elon. It's he's a Joe Rogan CEO. He's a JRC.
That's right. This was a funny post from Andrew Benson.
Yep.
He says, Peter Thiel will personally make $42 billion from the SpaceX IPO at a $1.5 trillion valuation. What a recovery from the mistake of exiting Facebook early.
Yep.
Bet he never
He was down to his last like 20K, I think.
Maybe.
I think so. I think so. I've never seen
He was
PT.
actually-
I've never
it seems
seen
like he was
PT
last
do a
down.
money spread. I've
seen
never seen him wearing Rick Owens.
No.
I'd never seen an RM on the wrist.
Never.
Never spotted in Chrome Hearts.
Never.
So how do we know that he's not down to his last 20 grand?
He doesn't have spinners on his car.
True.
He doesn't have his wheels stop when he stops. They don't keep rolling. It's ridiculous.
So it's really hard to clock.
He doesn't have hydraulics on his car. Hydraulics would be a good one. You got to get hydraulics on your car. That's elite. And 212s in the back. You got to get subwoofers. Mod your car. That's what real power is.
Should we talk about venture?
FF2 holds 10% of SpaceX. PT funded 10% of that. Carry of 20%, assuming that in the early days he was entitled to all of it. I have no idea if this math is accurate, but it is. It's going to be a remarkable result. Probably one of the greatest investments of all time. Certainly in the venture world. It also will be interesting because this will be the second $1 trillion early stage investment for PT, and there aren't that many funds that have done any. Like, if you remember, the Holy Trinity calculation was: have you done the first institutional round into a Mag 7 company? And it was just Kleiner, Founders Fund, and Sequoia that fit that criteria. If you take it to, you need
Well, the other
two
thing
of
is
those.
companies were just going so much. They were going public so much earlier.
Yes.
So it's not like they just stayed private and let.
I
So I'm just saying, if you actually
I
held
don't
for
knock,
the same amount of time.
Yeah. I don't knock that at all, because like a lot of the Sequoia guys did hold the NVIDIA shares, right? Even though they were distributed, I still count it as one of the big wins. But this.
OTP says never seen him with a grill either.
There we go. That's a great point. No grill is crazy. When you have that amount of money, you got to get a grill, get it iced out. Did you see this venture capital compensation in the United States?
I
DD
did.
Das. DD Das has been in some hot water lately because he's taking shots at OpenAI. Lot of OpenAI folks.
Well, he was right in the center of the whole Klein.
Oh, that
drama,
was
too.
also dramatic, but we're back.
likes-
We're back on the timeline.
He was
with
born
some
and
viral stuff.
he likes being in hot water.
I mean, he did not stop posting. So VC compensation by fund size. So this is a chart that shows what level are you at and how big is your fund. And so if you have a sub $50 million fund, even if you're the GP, you're probably only making $200K. But if you're at a $3 billion fund, you might be making $1.2 million in salary. And so I had some car
This is why
recommendations.
these smaller solo GP funds, you're really in it for the glory.
Yep.
It's a carry game.
And so
It's one of the hardest ways to make $200K a year.
Indeed. I mean, some of the associates here, if you're an associate at a small fund, you might be making 150K, 170K. Even at the big funds, the associates are making 238. The principal VP at a big fund might be making 450. So I had some recommendations for cars. If you're making $153,000 a year as an associate in a small fund, you're going to take that's about $12,000 a month, $13,000 a month. You're going to put that into a leased Ferrari SF90 Stradale.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
great.
You have no money left over, so you have to sleep in it. But
Yeah.
I think it's going to make a statement. You're going to get that promotion.
You can
when
sleep
get
in an
that
SF90.
promotion-
You can't drive a house to work.
Yeah, when you get that promotion and now you're making 250, well, that's 20K a month for your lease. You're going to upgrade to a used Bugatti Veyron.
What about taxes?
We're
not-
we're not paying taxes in this model. We're deferring the taxes. But I think if you pull up, if you're making 250, so what role do you have to do to make 250? To make 250, you have to be where are you? You have to get promoted to partner at a small fund or principal at a $250 million fund. So you're making 250. That's 200K, that's 20K a month. That's enough for the used Bugatti Veyron lease. That'll get you the bump up to 350 a year. That's 30K a month. At this point, you're in Ferrari F40 territory.
There you go.
You're showing
the other thing
up-
I was going to say is you could go
Yeah.
to the managing partner and
Yeah.
say, instead of a bonus this year, will you guarantee the loan on a Porsche ST?
Yes.
Right. Go for something really timeless.
There you go.
And the benefit of that, assuming you live close to work, right, you're not going to be losing a lot. There's not a lot of depreciation there. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a special car.
Yeah.
And so you got to get creative here.
Yeah, the really crazy thing. Okay, so obviously, so once you get promoted, you'll be making $600,000 a year. That's 50K a month. That's enough for a multi-car garage. You're going to get the Ferrari F40 plus a daily driver per Sangue, which you'll be sleeping
Okay.
in.
Of course, sleeping in it.
But
Of course, sleeping in it.
at that point,
you have some diversity.
You can finally upgrade. You're making 1.2 mil a year. You're making 100,000 a month. That's enough for the Bugatti Chiron or the Pagani Huayra Roadster. But the interesting question is that the current market value of a McLaren F1 is $20 million, and so the carrying cost to lease that is probably around $2 million a year. And so if you see someone dailying an F1, you know that they are post-exit. It's truly the most
They're in the
liquid vehicle.
they're in the carry.
You got to do it. Yeah, they're into the carry. Anyway,
Carry mode.
Speaking of Kari from Linear, he's our next guest. Let's bring in Kari from Linear. Welcome to the stream. He's in the Restream waiting room. How are you doing, Kari? Good to see you.
What's happening?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
We're doing fantastic. We're in the Christmas spirit, obviously. We're dressed up like Santa Claus, both Santa Claus.
If you didn't notice.
If you didn't notice.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to look similar to what you usually look like, so I
Yeah,
didn't quite
yes,
notice
yes.
it.
When do you think is the right time for companies to start getting into the Christmas spirit? Because Amazon was running kind of Christmas themed ads back in October. That felt a little early for us.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't really have like an opinion on this on the company level. Like, we don't do anything about it. But
You're
like,
locked in.
I think personally, like, I believe in the like after Thanksgiving, it's okay to start it. So you can get a Christmas tree after Thanksgiving, but
After
not
Thanksgiving,
before
let's
that.
hear it for another respecter of after Thanksgiving.
I said the exact same thing
I
earlier.
agree. Everyone says this, but there's clearly been a sort of erosion in every day, every year, one day earlier, and now they're running Christmas ads in October. It's an outrage. But anyway, we're not here to talk about Christmas anymore. We're here to talk about design. We're here to talk about your essay. Design is search. I would love for you to just kick us off with like the inspiration behind the essay, why you felt the need to set the record straight on this particular topic, and then we can go into some of the actual thesis and hopefully bat around some different ideas around it.
Yeah, I think this whole like debate on Twitter or on X started like on Friday. I was just sitting on the couch and in the midnight and thinking about this, that this is probably like, I don't know, the 10th time I've seen a company launch this like design to code tools or code in design or like designing code kind of tools. And I think it's like people always kind of see that that's kind of like the final form of design. Like now we can finally design in the actual medium, like actually in the code. And I think there's definitely like some benefits to that. And like it is a great tool, but I always think like design is not just the tools. It's like broader than the tools. And in a designer's toolkit, you always have many tools. And depending what you're designing and like what is the environment, like who you're designing for, what's the domain, what's the product, you use different tools. So I think like it's not like that clear cut that like designing in code is the best way to do design. So I kind of like wanted to like highlight that there's some like challenges with this. And what I started with was that I think that what also happened to me in the past, like when I was designing and building front ends for apps, what I often like start feeling happening to me is that like I become less idealistic or I become more conservative because like I know that like whatever I design, I also have to build. So there's like already like you start hesitate yourself or like you don't believe you can actually build certain things because like you start to kind of collapse the design and build more too much. But I think like also like if you are designing against an existing code base, I think it also introduces like additional bias where it's like the code base is this kind of collection of decisions and architecture and layers and product features that have been built over the years or over the months. And you are now kind of like trying to fit something new into that. So like the natural tendency there is to like fit something that fits. And like kind of like any kind of new or alien idea can kind of like feel like it doesn't fit and it doesn't feel like a good idea. So like you're too much reflecting the design against the state of the world versus like thinking about design more in abstract, like what the world could be.
It's like an artificial constraint.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I don't know if it's an artificial constraint, but it's a constraint what arrives too early. So like eventually, any design has to be like manufactured or coded or something like made it real. Like design is not real. It's like it's an idea or like a concept or like it's something, but it's not something people use. So I think it's eventually you have to deal with the constraints. Similarly, like architects has to deal with their constraints. Like how does the building, like how can we build this building? How can we stay under budget? Or how do we make sure the materials
How much
work?
land?
Like,
how much usable land do we have? That kind of thing.
But it's like I think like a lot of times architects still don't start from the constraints. Like they might acknowledge the constraints, but then they go to start sketching something what they want to see.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to highlight that like every tool has certain kind of strengths and weaknesses, and like if you're not mindful, you kind of like they can influence your thinking a lot. So what I worry about is that like if we start thinking design is about coding, then I think we lose something. Like we lose that like space to think more broadly or kind of without those constraints, and we jump into like let's build this solution. And that was kind of like that. I think like some people were pushing back on this essay or this ideas I was talking about that, well, now the design can be better because we can build it better and the quality can be better. But again, this kind of proves my point. It's like I don't think that I think construction and execution is different from designing. And I actually think that while it can help to construct the design better, like does it really make the design better? So I'm like still like looking for that, like how do these tools actually make the design process better? Like how do we make better things with these tools versus like we just execute them faster?
Yeah, is your view that like doing design within code is something that should effectively happen at a refinement stage where maybe you have a process of like planning how you want to build a product or a feature, and then you think really deeply about how you want to do it. You make a bunch of decisions based on your intuition and what you know about the customers and how the thing should work, and then you build it. And then at a certain point, you're able to make like more kind of like micro level changes to it when you've already done all the work of the kind of like heavy planning and being really thoughtful about something. Versus, I don't know, I'd be worried if somebody was like building me a house, and they just came to the land and they threw up like a box, like a frame, and then they started just kind of like, okay, we're going to add a door over here, and oh, we actually have to add like some pipes under here, so let's like dig under there, and like you want, when you're trying to build things that are high quality and great, I think like that like pre-planning process and doing things in the right order matters a lot. So I feel like with these new tools, you have to be thinking about where do you actually like slot in that, where do you slot into the tool to the overall process?
Yeah. I think these new tools can help to blend this. Like, so I think in the past, I think there's more like this, like, I don't know, the way things operate is much more that there's a design and then there's a handoff, then there's engineering, and then nothing crosses this border. And I think that's a bad way to do as well. And I think there should be this blended mode where I like to think that design is kind of essentially like two phases. Like you have a conceptual design. So you're kind of like trying to understand the problem, and then you're trying to explore multiple directions how to solve that problem. And like I always tell my designers to do that. Like even if you know the solution, you should still explore something else, because like maybe you find something better. Or like sometimes you should even explore bad ideas, because sometimes the bad ideas sometimes bad ideas actually turn out to be good ideas, and then sometimes bad ideas can show why that other ideas are good. So I think like there's this stage where what my essay was about was like design as a search. So you are searching for the direction, and like you're searching for the concept. You're kind of like removed from the execution stage of actually making it work. So the conceptual design is like, it's kind of like cars. Car industry has a concept cars. Like those cars are not in production yet, and like they never will be, but it's an idea what the car could be. And like car industry never like seems like they never really take anything from those concept cars, but they could.
We took the handle from the passenger door.
Yeah. We made this crazy gull wing, super fast, crazy car, and it's like, yeah, the lights.
So that's kind of like the idea. It's like there's a concept that is cool, and we should try to execute it. But like I don't know what happens in the car industry. They just kind of like can't do it. But I think like in a software you can do it, and then there's the execution design where you like, how do we actually make this work well in this context of the application, or fix the problems we didn't think about in a concept, like the edge cases or performance, or just like we get user feedback, we make some fixes. So at that stage, I think the coding tools can be really useful, because like you are iterating on you're refining the kind of like the design, but you had first this other stage where you kind of like thought about it, like more like, I don't know, not exactly first principles way, but like you started from like a kind of like a pure problem or an idea, and then you like created some concept that you think is worth like executing on.
Yeah. How do you think about, like, it feels like so much of what AI is great is maybe, I mean, AI is pretty good at like search, but I still feel like we probably agree that there's elements that are lacking around inspiration, and design is certainly not a solved problem from an AI perspective, but a lot of times translation is more or less solved. So what stuck out to me was in your essay, you noted that a lot of architects will start by sketching with like pencil and paper, and we are in the era of like, you could sketch it and maybe you have to come up with the brilliant idea or the brilliant, beautiful design, but then you can just take a picture of that sometimes and get a floor plan out of it, potentially. But do you think that something's lost there? Or do you think that like text, like are these all going to be lossy, and so you want to avoid like text to image to code, and you want to be able to like dip in at every single level? Like how do you think about the different translation modes? Because some of them are really helpful. Like at the end of the day, some of them are just autocomplete, and that's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like there could be always something lost. Like I think like when you actually, if you draw something and then you try to like draw it again, for example, you kind of like, even if you just took the sketch and then draw it again on a paper, you probably like start noticing different things. Like you start thinking about the problem like slightly like different way. So I think like what the AI is kind of like always doing is kind of like it's shortcutting you to the output without actually you yourself going through the process. So I think like something always gets lost there. I think, again, and I don't think it's like necessarily a bad thing. You can just like take a sketch and generate an idea, and like you see it in a different way, and that can be good too. But I think there's that problem, and yeah, like some of the comments I got, there's like, well, now the AI is so good, so you don't even have to code. So it's like you just describe what you want, and the AI kind of like creates it for you. But then now you're kind of like adding another layer of influence there. It's like the AI is like kind of influencing the output, like, and the LLMs are kind of like statistic models, whereas they're like always like looking for the correct, like kind of like statistically correct answer. They're not looking for the like necessarily the unique answer or your best answer for you personally or for this like context or something. So like there can be this danger of like everyone starts to average towards the means or the kind of like the common standard patterns or standard practices. Again, like I think it's fine to use AI, but it's just like kind of like you have to understand like what are you giving out or what is the trade-off, and like if should you do something about it or are you okay with it?
So the M dash of code.
Well, one interesting example earlier in the show we were talking about Where's Waldo. We use like Waldo Bench, so we'll test like a new image model by just making like a Where's Waldo illustration. And like none of the models can do it yet. It's like really complicated. They can make it visually look like it's perfect, at least from far away. And then you zoom in and it's like chaotic and there's no story happening around the page. And maybe Waldo's just not even on the page. Like it's the ultimate Where's Waldo? He just bounced. But we looked back at the history and the original illustrators, this guy Martin, and he would spend like 8 weeks to make like a full spread, right? And you could imagine, I mean, part of that was just like hand illustrating everything, but it's also like planning out like what is the storyline and what is the experience of like being in this page and like what is the experience of finding Waldo, right? And I feel like that is still the thing that is ultimately going to give products edge and make products have that craft, is when you know that a team that's building software could have one-shotted like a dashboard and got it like to the point where it's like it's functionally a dashboard. Like we can functionally make a Where's Waldo illustration that you can go on the page and search for Where's Waldo, but is it an enjoyable experience? Like right now we're not seeing AI that like maybe that you could find the right prompts, but right now you're not one-shotting an illustration like this, and it is still something you have to put an immense amount of like thought and planning into and try things and revert them, things like that.
Yeah. And I think there's different modes. Like I think you can use AI like creative ways of like generating a lot of output or different ideas. But I think it's like, yeah, there's always like, you now have this influence of the AI model, like how it creates those outputs and like decides things. And then you have the tool that is doing like the code base versus like you're kind of directly working on a sketch or a screen where there's like very little like influence, like what can be do, how the design can be. The other reason why I even like talked about this, like I don't have any tool to sell here, like I don't have a design tool to sell, but it's more like I worry about if we start to like kind of see design as coding, then or like start to see design as construction, that we like already like there's like the incentives to ship things fast is so strong that we start to see that, like now we don't need to design because we can just build it, and designers are gonna like design and build it. And then I think we start losing the other phases where can we just think about the problem, like can we think about the concepts, like how could this work really nicely, and then like I think it's like very like it's very exciting idea for companies or founders or someone's like, I don't have to think about design anymore. It just like happens when we build it. And I think it's maybe like a good for the business, but I think it's just like not good for the world, or like good to get like my kind of like motivation with Linear and like talking about some of this stuff is always that like, can we just have nicer things in the world? Can we like spend more time on the craft and quality and like value it again, even if it's not like something that can be measured? And I think the Silicon Valley and like technology companies always had trouble with this. It's hard to like value something that is not quantifiable like easily. It's like if there's no data for it, then it doesn't exist. And like good design is something sometimes like it cannot be measured. So So I think like this again, like shipping speed and like how many things you ship can be measured, but like if someone makes a design really good, it's like it's hard to measure that, and then designing things or like sketching things can be seen as unproductive because it's not directly contributing to the shipping speed or shipping more things.
Mm-hmm.
What's your philosophy on storytelling? Is Matt your storyteller? Do you like that word?
Yeah, I mean, I like it because like I think I don't know what happened to marketing, but I think marketing kind of like lost the story or lost the plot there at some point.
It became very quantitative. It became more mathematical. Like just buy the ads and run all the A/B tests and all. It became more of a science, and so the art needed a new brand, maybe.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
And like I would kind of like think like storytelling is kind of like I think it the same way as I think. The brand, I think the brand and storytelling is maybe like the same thing. It's like, to me, brand is something just that you have a belief or like some kind of worldview and you have some values or things you stand for. Like we always had that and Linear, and like that's kind of like from the place I always articulate my things. It's like I try to like keep true to that brand. It's like, can we have nicer things or quality things or something? And so the brand or the storytelling is never about about the output. It's actually like, it's like a deeper thing. It's like, do you believe in something? And then I think the storytelling or the brand is just like, how do you express that belief? So people can't read your mind. So you have to like either tell stories or you have to show visuals or videos or something. Mm-hmm. So how do you express your beliefs? So the problem when people are looking for storytellers is that, like, again, like, do you have the story to tell? Like, do you believe in anything? And like, is that, and if you believe in something, is it like engaging? Like, do people want to hear that story? So hiring a storyteller doesn't help if you don't have this like a good story or like engaging story to sell.
Well, yeah, and someone in the chat noticed you guys are hiring a writer, which is something I was pushing for. Like if I wanted to hire a storyteller, I'd want to hire somebody that is very good at writing and wants to come in and write a lot and like enjoys the craft of writing, and not somebody that wants like a pretty title that like sounds cool, but then ultimately just wants to collaborate cross-functionally across the org or whatever it is. Last question I have, what are your thoughts on holiday gimmicks in products? I got into my car this morning and on my profile, it had a Santa hat on it. Cool. And I got some enjoyment out of it. It had some cobwebs for Halloween too.
Oh, really? Huh.
But is that cheapen a product? It feels like something that I don't know which way you're going to go.
Yeah, I would think about it like from the point of brand. Is like, does it like fit the brand? Like, I think we haven't done those things because we kind of like Linear the brand is more that it's like a serious tool for work, and it's so I think some of those kind of things can kind of feel like off, and like I don't know, like for example, it's always like these situations where I don't know, like a company is using Linear and then something goes down, like their service goes down, like the whole company is like scrambling, and then suddenly some Santa hat appears and everyone's like, what is this thing? It's like we have like our product or like customer base is on fire and like there's some Santa hats flying around. So it's like it can be distracting, and so I think it's kind of depends on your brand and like how critical like infrastructure you are and where do you put these things. I think it can be a fun thing for the team to do Easter eggs. Like we do Easter eggs that are hidden, so there's like there's games there's an arcade you can enter in Linear, and then there's like old arcade games you can play, but you don't find them. Like you have to really find them to like you need to find the Easter egg to access it. So there's like these kind of things that you make secrets, but yeah, I don't personally like the like putting the decorations on your face in like professional tools.
Yep, makes total sense. Well, great having you on, and we'll save the Santa hats for the podcasters.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Great catching up. On. Good to see you.
We went, thank you. Well, we'll talk to you soon. Merry Christmas. We went way over, so we are going to skip Pranav Mayana and get him on the show tomorrow.
Great.
Instead, we will be joined by Mike at Liquid Death at 1 p.m. And we will catch up with the space data center debate. Pranav, of course, built a first principles model on the economics of data centers on Earth and data centers in space. I'm really enjoying the way the space data center debate has evolved. We are now vibe coding full applications to get to the bottom of the economics of these the decisions, and people are still split on it.
Santa came early for
Yes.
Lightspeed this year.
Yes, that's right.
They have $9 billion in new capital for a new family of funds.
Bring the gong. Are we-
Their largest raise in 25 years. AI is rewriting the rules. We're backing the founders, building
what comes next.
comes next. Congratulations to Lightspeed guests, Aaron, Michael,
Yeah.
and all of the
We've
folks over
enjoyed
there.
hanging out with you guys. Interesting. We saw that chart of like new venture funds raised really falling off a cliff.
Something like 50 billion to date.
This feels like a huge chunk of it potentially.
That chart was already getting debated.
Okay.
Or
yeah,
potentially
maybe stuff had been reclassified. Like it's possible that this $9 billion. Well, some of it's in a growth fund, so
Or they
they
weren't-
reclassified it or something like that. Wait, do you have more context there on that one? No. Okay. Let me tell you about Wander.com. Book a Wander with inspiring views, hotel-grade amenities, dreamy beds, top-tier cleaning, and 24/7 concierge service. It's a vacation home, but better, folks.
Pavel
Yes.
Prata says, look at Haystack Ventures Fund 3.
Okay.
It was an $8.2 million fund.
Semel Shah,
Semel
former guest on the show.
bought 3 decacorns.
Wow.
Invested early in DoorDash.
That's a Centacorn.
Centacorn alert. Figma,
Yeah, Figma.
public company. Instacart,
Instacart,
12 billion.
fantastic.
Carta,
Wow, he did
7.4.
Instacart and DoorDash. That's interesting. You'd think that would be like a little bit of like, hey, what are you doing investing in a competitor?
But it was
I guess
restaurant delivery versus grocery.
which is different. Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess it's different. Yeah.
HashiCorp,
Carta, Open
7
Door.
billion. Open
Wow.
Door, 6 billion.
Best solo GP fund in history.
Oh, and
was
apparently
Fund 3
Ashe-
solo though? I thought,
Ashe says Applied Intuition was also in this fund. Currently at a $15 billion.
wow, that's very, very impressive. Well, congrats to Semel Shah and Haystack.
Legend. We got to have him back on the show.
Wow, I'm liking the gong today. Not warmed up. Still has a nice little ring
Kind
to
of a
it.
wild ring to it. Harry Stebbing says venture investors are going through an existential crisis. If you are not in OpenAI, Anthropic, Cursor, Mercor, et cetera, you do not freaking matter. And we were with somebody yesterday for dinner, and they were in OpenAI
Most
and
of those.
Anthropic in
They were doing fine.
back in early 2023. He was feeling pretty good.
I do
relaxed.
know some VCs that have been early to the category, but missed all of those, and it is a hard story to tell. To bring it back to storytelling, if you're a VC right now and you haven't done anything like that. At the same time, if you're early stage, it doesn't seem that crazy. There are only so many people that could be in these firms really, really early. But if you're a growth investor, I mean, we've seen many growth funds that are in both Anthropic and OpenAI, which is like typically a no-no, but they figured out how to do it.
Well, why don't you and Tyler read this post from Didi?
I will.
And I'll be right back.
So Didi Das says, a few software engineers at some of the best tech companies told me this week my entire job these days is prompting Cursor or Claude code with Opus 4.5 to do what I need and then sanity checking it. Tyler, do you agree? Is that this is the new life of a software engineer?
I mean, yeah, kind of. Like Claude Code is like really good,
Yeah.
and I mean also Codex, the Gemini CLI, basically they're all like very similar.
Yeah.
But that form factor is like really good.
it's great.
I find it to be. Yep.
He says, we've crossed some intangible threshold of AI generalizing to most software. Opus 4.5 is the first model that makes me actually fear for my job. All models so far were okay-ish at best. Opus 4.5 really is something else. People who haven't tried it yet do not know what's coming for us in the next 2 to 3 years. Hell, even next year might be the final turning point already. I don't know how to adapt from here on. Sure, I can watch Opus do my work all day long and make sure to intervene if it F's up here or there. But how long will it be until it's not even, until I'm not even needed anymore? Yeah, I mean, do you think there's any sort of like overweight here on the type of like, vibe coding, small apps, new features? Like, are you hearing about big big hairy code bases, things that need to be very fault tolerant, where it's not just throwaway software? Still,
yeah. I mean, I think
that's
like
still
he says, he still has to intervene if it messes up.
Yeah.
Which I think is like that's extremely valuable. Like you need someone to do that. It's like the law firm thing where people talk about you can't just replace everyone with AI because so much of like a law firm is like you need to have them be accountable.
Yeah.
Where I think it's very similar with engineers.
Yeah.
I also think like a lot of the stuff I do is like kind of fairly like low risk. Like it's not super important if it messes up a little bit.
Yeah.
So there I can like really use models. Well, it's not going to bring down like a nation state, or it's not like important government data or whatever.
Yeah.
So if it's like not super efficient or stuff like this, it's like not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Where I think it's much harder. Like I often find that if I'm trying to like completely one-shot a project, and then I keep iterating on it, a lot of times I have to do some sort of like architecture rework.
Yep.
Because it just like doesn't make sense if you really want to keep scaling it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where the tech debt. Then you can use the model to fix the tech debt.
Yep.
But it's kind of like not as smooth as you would really like ideally want it to be.
Yeah. Interesting. Anyway, 8 sleep. Maybe you just hit Claude Code and then you go to sleep.
Overnight
Take a nap
success.
on an 8 sleep. Exceptional sleep without exception. Fall asleep faster, sleep deeper, and wake up energized.
8 sleep should really make overnight success into a campaign.
Ooh, that would be good. That's a great tagline for them. Overnight success. I like it. What most discussions of AGI feel like nowadays, says Rota. Cars have windows and can move. Houses have windows and can't move. So it's not the windows that make the car go. It's something else entirely. Wow, yeah, that's a good point. It's not the car. It's not the windows that make the car go. It's something else entirely. What a great post.
PJ cooked.
PJ cooked with this one. It's fantastic. What is this long post?
Crazy image.
That is a crazy image. Martin Shkreli shared clearly a screenshot of a spreadsheet. I don't know how accurate this data is, but he's pulling minutes spent on AI sites last month alone. 64% were on ChatGPT, 15% on Gemini. DeepSeek and Grok are the only two on a trajectory to come even close. Grok.com is only at 3% of the total of these users that were
growing
on web.
But
it's growing very fast. DeepSeek.com is the same thing, 3%, but growing very fast, whereas some of the other ones are shrinking. Interesting to see, Perplexity is at 2%. Claude AI is at 2%. Some of these have they bend themselves into other systems, and also these are of course websites. So app-based LLMs are not going to be quite captured here, but continues to tell the story that ChatGPT is still the dominant consumer platform for just hopping on an LLM and answering some questions. Anyway, let me tell you about AdQuick.com. Out-of-home advertising made easy and measurable. Plan, buy, and measure out-of-home with precision. Our next guest, Mike from Liquid Death, is in the Restream waiting room. Let's bring him into the TBPN Ultradome.
What's happening?
Mike, how you doing? Hey. Welcome to the show. What's new in your world?
You didn't get the memo.
What memo? Oh,
Just
yeah.
kidding.
He's not wearing a Santa.
No, we're the only ones wearing Santa suits today.
But we are feeling the holiday spirit. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah. Welcome to the show. First time on the show. There's a ton of stuff I want to talk about marketing and launching this business and how comedy scales. But maybe, can you just take us back and really quickly give us the intro on the actual launch? I feel like, is it fair to say that Liquid Death had like a viral launch video strategy? Was that the cornerstone of the launch? Or were there other pieces that were at play in the early days?
Well, the way we launched Liquid Death was actually a bit different. So when I had the idea, it was a little bit too crazy to most people to find investment to make it. So I basically created a Facebook page and we made it seem like a real brand just to see like what kind of traction did it get in the world if people thought this was a real thing. Then we shot a cheap commercial for the product that didn't exist yet. And we probably spent $1,500 to shoot the commercial. And we put a little bit of paid media behind the video, maybe like a few $1,000s. And then after 5 months, the video had 3 million views. The Facebook page had, 60, 70,000 followers, which was more than Aquafina had on Facebook at the time. So then I used all that kind of market traction to then go raise like a small.
I'm so surprised that more CPG brands don't do that. Like it takes so long to make even like if somebody's making a drink like this, right? If they actually start working hard on it today, they might have something close to a product that they can sell in 6 to 12 months, something in that range, to like really go through rapid iteration and getting it made and scaling up production and testing and all that stuff. When you could just actually make an image of something like this and just like start running ads against it and see like, do people care at all? Do they click through at a good rate, even with ads that aren't super refined? I did that once on a project in college. I had the idea, I was shooting a lot of film photos and I was super frustrated. It was like a 30-minute drive to the place you drop off film. And so I wanted to make like basically like kind of Netflix model for film. So you could just like get sent a roll of film, send it back once you shot it. And I was shocked. I just ran ads against it. And I had like immediately like a $10 like customer acquisition cost. Of course, I didn't actually have the service set up, so I just refunded everyone immediately. But it's so much easier to validate stuff. And I think people waste so much time. And when you're in that sort of like pre-product in CPG is just like the death zone. Like it's just so hard to get people to care and like actually risk capital when it's like you don't even have a product that I can like sample and you want me to give you like $100,000 or $250K. It's a big ask.
Completely. And it's something I hear from people, who are aspiring entrepreneurs or have an idea. I think there's just like a general sense that, oh, I have this great idea for something. How do I now go raise money? Well, the reality is investors like to invest in businesses, not ideas. So how can you start in some way to prove out that there might be some traction, however you might be able to do that? And that's going to get you a lot further than just saying, hey, I have this great idea, give me some money. It's hard.
The first, so that video that you described, was that the animated video? Or
I think that was before this,
That
right?
animated video happened later. Can you take me through, like, how, like, I imagine that cost more than $1,500 to produce that. What was the story behind picking animation? I feel like a lot of brands were doing sort of like the founder testimonial, direct to camera. You tell the vision of the business, or you go on a podcast tour. And Liquid Death came out with that really aggressive animated style. What was the story behind that particular video?
Yeah, I mean, with most businesses, I think you need to look at where are your strengths, what is your network, what are your connections, and utilizing what you have near you to the best of your advantage. So, another way put is play the hand of cards that you have.
Yeah.
That's unique to you. So for me, I was a big fan of this animated TV show on Adult Swim called Mr. Pickles. It's this bizarre acid trip of a violently funny cartoon. And I ended up reaching out to the guy who was the creator of it. There was 2 creators. He was one of the 2. And in the early days of Liquid Death, saying, hey, I'm a huge fan of your show. I feel like we have similar creative sensibilities. Maybe you'd want to be involved in this Liquid Death thing I'm trying to get going. And sure enough, he responded. We met. We got along really well. And he's actually the one who drew the skull that is the logo on all of our cans to this date.
Wow.
And then once we actually got the brand off the ground and we had real product and we were selling and we were making, real revenue, we had slightly bigger marketing budgets, we were able to use the animation firm that he was working on his TV show with. And they said, hey, we'll do this for super cheap because Will's already here he could just do this on the side, and we can make it happen. So animation is very expensive. Like, 30 seconds or 40 seconds of animation is very expensive, but we were able to get, I think we spent all in like $30K on that, but that should have costed probably $250,000 if you were just trying to go do that normally, minimum.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was kind of like that. That was something that was in our quiver, and we were a big fan of it. And we had some great resources there to make a really funny. And that was always our thing. How do we make something that's the funniest thing someone's going to see in their feed and spread it for us for free?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we love comedy here. You're being interviewed by two Santa Clauses. I'm interested to know. Take me a couple of years into my future. Do I regret this, or do I lose this? Like, how do you maintain a level of humor while still, coming to the customer and the business partners with like, hey, yeah, we're not joking around about quality assurance or something. Like there's a serious side of the business now. There's still some humor that's still there. At the same time, the marketing's probably not laugh a minute anymore. How have you thought about like scaling comedy?
No, it's a really great question. It's something that I've had to push through multiple departments of the company, which, yes, we're a funny brand in the way we market, but if you think about a brand like a person, like think about someone that's funny. Like, they're not funny in every scenario. You don't tell them that, hey, my dad died, and they crack a joke. Like, people, a lot of really funny people, they just know people really well. Like, they know how to make people laugh. They know when to tone it down. Like, the number one rule of comedy is like, know your audience. So I think it's important that it's always like, hey, when someone sends in an email saying, hey, my case of Liquid Death from Amazon got all screwed up in the mail, you don't crack a joke. Like, act very earnest. Hey, I am so sorry about that. Like, that sucks. Like, we will completely figure it out. So it's all about knowing where it's important to be, real and authentic and caring, and then where it's important to be funny and irreverent, and that you always got to be cognizant.
How much did you predict the death of the alcohol culture? It feels like this is perfectly timed. We've talked to so many folks on the show about the next generation just drinking way less, and it feels like you've been a beneficiary of this. But was that something where you had seen a chart and you'd actually seen a trend line, or you just had a vibe, or it just kind of came to you naturally, or you just got lucky? Like, how do you frame the fact that you're selling an alternative to alcohol in a ton of bars? I see it all the time, at a time when people are looking for an alternative.
Yeah, it was a little bit luck. I think the bigger conceptual drive behind Liquid Death's inception was that, how do we make a truly healthy beverage company that markets more like a fun alcohol or junk food company? Because you think about all the funny, irreverent marketing over time, it's all like Snickers, Cheetos, Dos Equis, like it's beer, it's candy, it's fast food.
Yeah, my biggest criticism of like healthy brands historically is it's so hard to build a brand if you're not making people feel any like real emotion, right? Like, how many healthy brands are funny at all? Like almost zero, right? It's like toned down colors, like just kind of like simple, straightforward copy. There's no energy coming through the brand. So how are you going to make somebody feel something? And if you want to be remembered, you have to make somebody feel something.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think it's also just strategically, unhealthy brands, like in their marketing boardrooms, they're like, we want people to associate our products with fun. So everything we do is going to be centered around fun, and like that, we want this to be fun. Or they think about their audience, like, hey, we are selling to teenagers. Like, this is how we want to make teenagers love us. Where healthy products, we're not ever marketing to teenagers. They were marketing to 35 plus, females, and they would market a certain way there. So yeah, part of what I love about Liquid Death and why I wanted to do it is so many healthy companies just preach to the choir, people who already make healthy decisions. How can I use a brand to get people who don't typically make healthy decisions to now, every once in a while, pick up a low-calorie water just because they identify with the brand and they think it's cool?
Yeah.
And then you still get the healthy people because they're already buying in those categories. But how do you start bringing new people into healthy categories who weren't there before?
What's your philosophy on storytelling on X the last 24 hours? Everyone's been debating, like, do you need to hire a chief storyteller?
Yeah.
I took the point of view of like truly the most elite storytellers are founders, CEOs who are the ones communicating to customers and vendors and the media and all that kind of thing. And if you're feeling like you need to hire a storyteller, it's very possible that you just don't know what story to tell. But I don't know that hiring somebody off the street to tell your story is going to actually get you what you want, which is like a plot and meaning and all these other things that great stories and brands have.
Yeah, I mean, it's like storytelling is such a broad thing. It's like storytelling isn't everything. And as a founder specifically, or if you work in sales, it's like just being able to tell a story is not just important to a consumer. How do you get employees to want to follow you? If you can't articulate a vision, a story that gets people excited and believing in the mission, like, you're not going to be a very good leader either, because it's so important. So I don't know if hiring a chief storyteller is like the equivalent of having like, a language translator. Hey, storyteller, tell everybody in the company why what I say, matters. So, but I think that great CEOs have been successful because they're great storytellers naturally. And that goes far beyond just knowing how to tell a consumer story, but how to get investors excited, how to get employees excited. You got to be able to speak in a way that makes people believe. Yeah.
You have an advertising background. How do you work with ad agencies today? Another thing I was kind of sharing with the audience, my point of view is that more tech companies should work with traditional ad agencies to actually just like come up with like novel campaigns to try to cut through the noise. I think people get too focused on, we just need a pretty website, like that will solve our problem, or we need a nice logo. And it's like spending not enough time thinking about like really clear messaging and actually thinking in campaigns. Like I know companies that will spend $50 million next year on marketing, and they're not even thinking about like what campaigns are we going to do. They're just thinking about like what channels are we doing, how are we spending, who are our segments, and they're not thinking of this like kind of like through line messaging. And so I think that that's an area that traditional ad agencies, not necessarily the biggest ones in the world, but the sort of classic ad agency can actually be really helpful on.
Yeah, I think another way to think about it is thinking about all different kinds of companies, tech or what have you, thinking about more of the full funnel. Because when you talk about campaign, you're kind of talking about top of funnel, like more general awareness around the brand. And then you've got other marketing assets further down the funnel that are focused more on converting somebody into a customer. I think you have so much focus, especially in the tech world, on the lower funnel where hey, I put this money in and then this much money comes out because of conversion. But what happens is if you're not bringing in enough people at the top of funnel at the brand level, you don't have enough people to convert. Then it starts getting really expensive to convert low-level performance people because you start running out of people and it just starts getting more expensive. And I think like a great example is like AI. All of the LLMs now are fairly comparable in what they can do. But still, ChatGPT is by far the biggest because it's the most notable brand. It's just the thing that people, ChatGPT, it's easy to say. It's fun to say. I know that. I'm just going to use that one. Look at Google. How many other search engines tried to come about? And just because of Google's brand and something that's emotional, just made that the go-to place where nobody else could really come and take it away. And to your point, a lot of that has to come from more brand marketing and not just like nuanced performance functional marketing.
Yeah. How are you thinking about the new sparkling energy drink? I feel like there's a sort of like positive positioning. Hey, we're the only ones that have this particular benefit, or there's the free of strategy where everyone else has this bad thing and we don't. Is that the framework you think about when you go to launch a new product? What was your thesis behind getting into energy?
I mean, we've been asked about when we were going into energy since probably like year one of Liquid Death, because people just think the brand is so much more like
It's got a lot of energy.
It does.
yeah, it's got a lot of energy. Yeah. And even it's still funny to this day, in consumer research that we have, we make flavored sparkling water, we make plain water, we make iced tea. Like 60% of the country has heard of Liquid Death. 20% know that we make flavored sparkling water, which is our biggest actually category now.
Whoa.
But 19% of the country thinks we make an energy drink. So literally, our biggest category has as much awareness as a category we don't even make yet.
That's
right?
crazy. Yeah.
Because the brand just sounds more like an energy drink than it sounds like a flavored sparkling water. So the reason we got into energy was because I think we finally found a way to stay to our brand ethos, which is to truly be a better for you brand. And we were able to find a way to do what we feel is a truly better for you energy drink product. And now that the better for you segment of energy is the fastest growing within energy, the Celsiuses of the world, Alani, C4, these other brands that are low, zero sugar, low calorie, etc. It just became the right window for us to kind of offer something that really felt better for you within the category. And that's a combination of things with just, we thought the category was getting a little insane with the caffeine. Like Celsius, Alani, all these brands are like 200 milligrams of caffeine. And I think
We started this show, by the way. John would have 3 Celsius in a single show.
It was insane. It was so bad. Now I do 3 Diet Cokes, which is like, I think around 100 or 200 milligrams of caffeine. It's not too bad.
Yeah, I mean, most people don't think of Red Bull as a weak energy drink. It's the number one selling energy drink. Red Bull is 114 milligrams in a 12-ounce can. So a Celsius is like pounding 2 Red Bulls at one time.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, and I don't think a lot of people realize that. And the more we've talked to people, they kind of feel like, oh yeah, I stopped drinking, Celsius or Alani because I don't know, I started feeling a little like cracked out.
Oh
and so,
yeah, it's crazy.
I just thought there was like, we thought there was like a good opportunity to come in with something that was not weak, but this just what we're calling a sane level of energy in a category that I think is starting to go a little insane.
Do you have a tagline for it? Murder your sleep or something?
Well, we actually have on the can, it's not really the tagline, but it's a small one that says death to drowsy.
There we go. I knew it was going to be something good.
Yeah.
What's the go-to-market with energy? I can imagine. A buddy of mine is like a pro skateboarder, and like in skating, there's like some fatigue around the big energy drink brands, and it feels like there's room. Like energy drinks have had a big place in the industry for a long time, so I can imagine there's like an athlete angle to this. There's kind of broader campaign, but how are all the different ways you're planning to really bring it to market?
It's funny. It's actually not that at all because, Monster and Red Bull, both companies valued like upwards of 60 billion apiece. They've got endless checkbooks to buy athlete. And that's the thing. When you do sports marketing, anybody with a big enough checkbook can buy any athlete. That's how they make their money, right? So if Liquid Death tries to go in and buy athletes competing with the checkbooks of Monster and Red Bull, we're never going to make enough of a dent to have it move the needle for us. So for us, like what makes Liquid Death unique is we're arguably the funniest beverage brand in the world, and we're better at being funny than anybody else. And big companies have a really hard time producing comedy because you go through that bureaucracy of focus groups and layers. It's hard to make something legit funny the way we can, and no amount of money can fix that. So we want to focus on being the only funny energy drink brand in a sea of extreme sports, right?
I love that. Yeah, that's great. That's great different positioning. This is what a great guest for today. Thank you so much for hopping on the show. We got to jump to our next guest, but we'd love to have you back and go way deeper. This was fantastic.
No one loves advertising more than me. Maybe you do.
You're elite.
Maybe you do.
You're very elite at it, so thank you. It's always great.
Super fun conversation. Let's do it. Let's do it again soon.
Let's do something again soon, please.
Congrats to the whole team on the launch.
Have a good one.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Talk to you soon. Bye. You heard from Kari, Linear. Let me actually tell you about Linear. Linear, meet the system for modern software development. Linear streamlines work across the entire development cycle from roadmap to release. We have Elliot Cohen from General Medicine in the Restream waiting room. Next, he's coming in. Previously co-founded PillPack with friend of the show.
What's happening?
Merry Christmas. How are you doing? Happy Hanukkah.
Merry Christmas. Thanks for having
happy
me, guys.
holidays.
Exactly.
Please, since this is your first time on the show, I mean, we've talked about General Medicine before, but introduce yourself. I'd love to get a little bit of your journey, your story, and then I'm sure we can go into a ton of different aspects of the healthcare industry and general medicine generally.
Also, hello, TJ.
Oh, yes?
Hope you're watching.
Oh, yeah. I hope so, too.
We love you. Anyways, Elliot.
Thanks for having me on. He was joking that maybe he would have actually been better for this because he's got the nice Santa beard. You know,
oh,
you
yeah.
guys are-
He does have the Santa beard sometimes. Anyway, but it's great to meet you.
Dress up.
You know?
He's prepared.
It's great to meet you guys.
Yeah.
My name's Elliot Cohen. I was one of the other founders of PillPack along with TJ Parker. And we started that business in 2013. We sold it to Amazon in 2018. And then both of us stayed at Amazon.
Success.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It was like, a month or two and it all just worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the latest at General Medicine? I hear you guys are ripping.
Yeah.
But would love for you to share kind of the state of the business.
Business is doing great. We launched in May, and since then we've just been expanding. It's available nationwide. I think it's got the most insurance coverage of any provider group in the country. And even if we don't take your insurance at our provider group, we can always route you to the right care locally or anywhere else. And really, we started with this sort of first touch experience. We wanted to make sure it was as easy as possible to get access to immediate care. And the ambition has always been to build an entry point to healthcare where you should be able to come to us for absolutely anything. And what we're launching today is a new way to do that with a chat that has all of your health history in it. We've been watching, I think probably like you guys, people have been chatting with ChatGPT and Gemini and others about their healthcare. And, it's something like 60 or 70% of probably all adults out there. And what we've noticed, though, is that those chats don't go anywhere. They aren't connected back into the rest of your care. And so at General Medicine, what we've been building is the ability to go from that chat straight into actual care. And all of it is health history aware. So we import all of your records, make it really easy for you to have a conversation with them.
How are you importing records? I feel like my records are all over the place. Sometimes the doctor just hands me a piece of paper, I lose it. Sometimes it's an email. Sometimes there's a web form or a web portal that I have access to. Sometimes I went and used some one-off, internet product that I signed up for, did some labs, have some data over there. It feels very messy. I understand that AI could do cool stuff with it, but I feel like I will be very lazy about actually centralizing all the data in my life since it's not organized.
You need an agent that goes and finds every
maybe. But how do you see actually the most important pieces of health information, pulling those in? What's the workflow like? How does the user actually experience this?
We have a bunch of elves, and you tell us. Yeah, they just stay right out there.
That's great. He's going to ring the gong for the elves. Completely lost him on the camera too. You dodged him completely.
Where am I? Here I am.
There we go. Okay.
That's the. I think we've been willing to wrestle with the complexity of healthcare. That's the difference of being willing to take people's insurance, being willing to embed yourself in the entire healthcare system, and so. You look at what traditional tech companies have been doing. They've given you these ways to import your records one-off. And the problem with that is exactly what you said. You get one record from one care event. When I imported my records into General Medicine, I had stuff going back to 2005. More than 20 years of records that got automatically imported. And the difference is we're an actual provider group and we're providing real treatment. And that gives us the ability to go collect a lot more information because it's critical to the way that we provide care. Ultimately, this is the context that we're using that lets us provide this much richer care to folks when they come through the front door.
So is the goal for this to be like effectively like passive, where even if I'm not immediately seeking like a treatment, I'm just trying to understand my health. Maybe I have like shoulder pain and I want to understand that. This is I'm coming to general medicine to just like have a conversation with an LLM, and maybe later I come back and I'm like, oh, okay, I actually want to pursue treatment now. Whatever I learned, it's not going away or whatever. And then you guys can help route it. Is that the goal?
I think, honestly, whenever anybody comes in, if you're experiencing shoulder pain, there's always advice that we can help support you with. That's going to help you figure out when's the right time to seek imaging, or when's the right time to go to PT, when's the right time to talk to a clinician about it. And that's the whole point of trying to have the care deeply embedded into the experience. Is you shouldn't have to just wait to see if it magically gets better or doesn't before deciding to really engage with the healthcare system. If it was easy to engage with, you'd do it right away. And that's what we want to enable. Actually, I've had foot pain for the last 2 years, and the connection I had never made in my head, I've been wrestling with this. I've been talking to doctors about it. I've been exploring it. And when I loaded all this into general medicine, it was the first time I made this connection back to an injury I had in 2005 on my left foot. And it was the LLM that helped me appreciate that there might be a connection between these two. And it started helping me explore, what are the different options to figure this out. We decided, one of the options that came out of that was imaging. I ultimately booked a visit so I could debate whether the imaging was really the right thing or whether PT was the right thing. Since this had been going on for so long, my clinician and I decided that really jumping straight to imaging was probably the right next step. And the imaging ended up finding these cysts in my ankle. Whoa. And I'm a relatively educated consumer, and I read the report and I didn't really understand it. Yeah. You get like that MRI, you log into your portal, you're downloading all this stuff. It's like this really technical language. And I started reading, I just didn't really get it. And I dumped it all into general AI, and it started explaining it to me perfectly. In fact, it was so different though than my understanding of it. I had to give it to one of my buddies who's a radiologist, because I thought it meant that this thing was wrong. And he was like, no, it's given you a perfect interpretation. That's exactly what the radiologist said in the read. And so that I was then able to start exploring with it all of these different pathways. Is surgery the right next step? Is there a different, less invasive approach? And ultimately, this thing is not going to diagnose me. It's not going to tell me what the right next step in the care is. But being able to have that very exploratory, in-depth dialogue, by the time I get to the actual visit to talk about the different options with a doctor, now I've got this clear idea in my head of, man, there's these 3 or 4 different options. I actually don't know which one's right for me, but here are kind of the puts and takes. And it just makes it way easier to then have this super rich dialogue with the doctor about which of those pathways is best for me.
What is it like being a doctor post LLM in general? Like, do you think patients in general are coming in more informed or more freaked out for no reason? Everyone's been told by a doctor, don't Google it, don't search and then add Reddit to the end. You just go down a rabbit hole. But I think everybody's experienced at this point of like actually, it can be very empowering to like do research, and maybe it has some negative side effects. But in general, I think people want information. They want to understand their health, and you're never going to stop them from exploring.
I think we're pretty clearly on the side of like, you want to give people these tools. More data and information is helpful. You want consumers to be empowered. It's their bodies, it's their health. They're the ones who get to make the decision. The clinician should not be a gatekeeper. The clinician should be a guide, a quarterback, helping them get to the best care for them. And we think AI is a really critical tool in that process. It helps the consumer understand more upfront, so they come to the visit way better prepared to have a really rich dialogue. We also then have a bunch of tools that let us share that conversation in a nicely summarized way with the doctor. So the doctor, when you show up, they know what conversation you've been having. They have a sense of that history and what you're interested in exploring in the visit. And so in a 15, 20-minute visit, you can just dive right into the meat of the conversation. You don't have to spend the entire time just ramping up on the history.
How do clinicians see you? Do they see you as just like a funnel for business broadly? Like they all want to be on general medicine, having you funnel customers to them? Is there any sort of negotiation that happens? Is all of this just happening sort of by default? Is there opt-in, opt-out? Like, what is the relationship between you and the radiologist, for example, in that example you gave?
We've got two ways that you could work with us.
Okay.
One is you can join the platform and see patients directly through the platform. And in that scenario, you're getting paid just like you would as part of any health system. You're getting paid for providing care. Separately from that, we have these really rich tools that help us understand the quality and the different services that each physician across the country provides. And so when a customer needs follow-up care, we can help them search very precisely for the exact right care. So to come back to my ankle example, I can go hunting in that database for the doctor that is going to be the perfect one to remove this cyst from my ankle. Not just a general orthopedist, but someone who has experience in that exact surgery and that exact repair. And I think this is actually where physicians and consumers are perfectly aligned. Consumers want to get to the exact right doctor for their need as quickly as possible. It's just really hard to know what that is because you didn't go to med school, you didn't go to residency, you don't have the same expertise. Same thing on the other side. The doctor wants to practice, they want to focus on the patients they're going to be the absolute best at seeing. And today, there's just no good way for the consumer to know that they're going to the right doctor for them. And there's no good way for that doctor to say, hey, these are exactly the type of patients that I'm going to be really good at. I'm really good at these ankle repairs, but I don't want the knees. There's no way to filter for that today.
One more question from me, and then you can close it out. In terms of like AI and health, it feels like we're very much in like the abstract era of like, maybe it'll cure cancer. And it feels like a couple of years ago when in broadly in AI, we were like, maybe there'll be like an economic explosion. We'll be growing at 10% GDP. And like the economic data, at least this year, has been like pretty fine, like same, it's like not bad, but also not great. And like the unemployment rate just came back and like sort of mixed, and like the stock market's doing well, but it's not like, 10% GDP growth. And I'm interested in if, Satya Nadella said like, I'll believe the AI like fast takeoff narrative when I see GDP growing really, really fast. Like, what are some of the health metrics that you would look to judge in 5 years, 10 years? Is AI having a really dramatic impact on health? We've seen, I think everyone has expectations about what's happening with the peptides and GLP-1s, right? And we would expect that if the GLP-1 mission works, you'll see obesity rates fall. But is there a broader health metric that you could imagine tracking to understand the impact of what you're doing, but also just broadly like AI in medicine having an impact?
You want us to get a metric that's not like Chinese peptide shipments into the country.
I mean, that one would be probably worth tracking as well. But yeah, I'm just wondering, like what are the high level KPIs for like we look at a lot of like the health of the American consumer. How much did they spend on Black Friday? What about the health of the health of the American? Like, how are we tracking that?
I think we look at this stuff all wrong, honestly. Like, we spent the last 20 years optimizing for the financial relationship between the doctor and the system. And so all of our health metrics, the way we talk about them, it's all about cost. I don't think that's what we should be optimizing for. I think we should be optimizing for the consumer and their enjoyment and their fulfillment that they get out of that experience. So to me, it's, if you want to boil that down as a metric, it's something like Net Promoter Score. Like, how much do you love interacting with the system, the healthcare system? And today, that's a silly question because the answer is nobody. Nobody loves interact. But that's the craziest thing. Like, it's the definition of wealth, right? Like, the most important thing that any of us have in our life is probably our own health. We should love interacting with it. We should love engaging with it. And to me, that's the metric I would look for, particularly around AI. It has this opportunity to completely shift the way consumers engage with their health and how empowered they are in it, and really make them the customer. At the end of the day, I think so much of our healthcare system today, the consumer is not actually the customer. And our ambition at General Medicine is to build a completely new health system where the consumer gets to be the actual customer of their own care. And my personal belief is if we do that, we will solve most of the problems in healthcare. Most of the stuff we complain about, it's because the customer is the employer, the customer is the doctor, it's the insurance company, it's the government, it's not the consumer. And I think AI has a real chance to shift that back around and make the consumer the center of that.
I love it. All comes back to NPS.
Maybe
It's a final metric.
The final boss.
No, if you think about it, like in times that I've rated, like my NPS score for a company would be like 1.
Yeah.
It was like a healthcare related experience, you know?
Sure, yeah.
Like where if you get misdiagnosed or just get bad advice or you get prescribed a drug that you shouldn't be on or whatever, it's like you're going to have a really bad time. And a lot of that I think is avoidable with just, better understanding, more personalization, et cetera.
Makes sense.
Anyways, congratulations to the whole team. Very, very exciting. And
thanks for coming on the show.
Great to have you on. Well,
hey, thanks for having me. This was great. I love that.
Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you soon. Goodbye. So, Rune has weighed in on the word of the year situation. He says everyone's word of the year is slop, thus making the word of the year as an article category slop. What do you think? Word of the year, still underrated, still room to run? Does the word of the year as an article category have motion?
We were trying to figure out our word of the year.
Aura?
The word that we landed on was motion.
I love
right?
motion.
It's hard to perfectly define.
Yes.
Define, you know it when you see it.
Sure.
You know when someone has it.
Yes.
You know when someone doesn't have it. And I just felt like this year.
You know when they're sleeping. You know when they're awake. You know that who's been bad and good.
Good.
Are you on the motion list?
Are you on the motion?
Are you on the motion list? Yeah, it does. It does feel like everyone sort of landed on the slop thing. Anyway, you had another story you wanted to run through.
Warner is preparing to tell shareholders to reject Paramount offer.
Wow. Okay.
Company to recommend existing Netflix deal as soon as Wednesday. So we'll be looking out for that tomorrow. If you want to participate, I'm kind of tempted to. At least I'm not a Warner shareholder. I'm tempted to buy a share. I'm tempted
just to vote
participate.
Yes. Just to vote yes or vote no.
No. I haven't decided yet.
Oh, okay. You could be swung.
Yeah,
you could be swung. You're a swing.
I want to put the word out.
I'm a single. I'm going to buy some, and I'm going to be a single issue voter. Foghorn Leghorn.
I need a new.
I need a trilogy. I'm going to need a trilogy. I'm going to need a Foghorn Leghorn trilogy with a lot of Porky Pig on there. I'm going to need a massive cinematic universe all around.
Yeah, you want to hold up the process until you can get clarity on how they're going to treat that IP.
Yes,
right? That's really
Foghorn Leghorn is very, very important. Anyway, our next guest is already in the Restream waiting room. We have Ali from Databricks. Welcome to the show. How are you?
So sharp.
You look very sharp.
It feels like you're wearing a suit, but you're not. It's your own.
But good to see you again. How are you doing?
Likewise, good. I didn't get the memo. I'm not dressed up the right way.
We should have. No, you look fantastic. Don't worry about that.
Come back on tomorrow. We'll ship you a Santa outfit. You can raise the next round.
Yes.
We still have a few letters left.
But congratulations. Give us the news. What happened?
Yeah, what happened is that we're just seeing an acceleration in the business, especially with respect to AI. And actually, we slice and dice. We're data companies. We slice and dice that data in many, many different ways. Is it a particular customer concentration? Is it a particular cloud? Is it a particular product? No, it's like, broad-based acceleration throughout the business. We passed $4.8 billion run rate revenue. Awesome. Oh, wow. Yeah. I was asking in advance, will I get a gong? Thank you.
Yes, of course.
Of course. Maybe multiple.
Perfect. Yeah. So over 55% growth.
Yeah.
But more interestingly, we're now passing $1 billion on our data warehousing product, which we announced 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And we also passed $1 billion run rate in AI revenue, which makes it over 25% of our revenue.
Wow.
Not that many companies in it. There's a lot of talk about AI. What's going on with AI? Is there a bubble or not? Not many companies have over 25% of their business in AI, and over $1 billion. So we're excited about that.
Yeah, how are you thinking about classifying that? Because I imagine that in some ways, a lot of the data warehouse revenue is from AI companies that want to warehouse data because there's more and more need for data because everyone's doing more things with it. We're in this era where everything is becoming AI, and yet it can feel a little disingenuous when companies slap AI on the back of their name. And
well, it's hard to classify too, because we were looking at some data earlier this week from Ramp that basically said like 50% of businesses aren't spending any money on AI directly, yet they're clearly buying things from companies companies that are using AI. So
yes, where in the supply chain is it? But how do you think about what is the main driver of that data warehouse growth?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of interesting. So, we started the company in 2013.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons we started was because we wanted to do AI.
Sure.
And the problem is, since 2013, up until November 2022, no one wanted to hear AI.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, no one was interested in it. And then come November 2022, ChatGPT gets released, and now everyone wants to just talk about AI.
Yep.
So now it's like, are you an AI company? Are you doing AI? What's AI? But yeah, no, when we split our revenue up, right, you can think of it like, roughly 2 billion of data munging and securing that data, 1 billion of data warehousing, and then 1 billion of AI. So you can separate these out. So it's not like overlapping, triple, quadruple counting or anything like that.
Yeah.
So what are they doing with the AI? I mean, there's just lots of use cases. So let me give you an example. So we have this product called Agent Bricks. One of the favorite use cases I have is that Merck actually created a model. These are called transformer models, these AI models. They created something called TEDI, which stands for Transformer Enabled Drug Discovery.
Okay.
And this is an AI model. Instead of predicting the next word in English sentence, it can predict cells and cell expressions. So it's called gene regulatory network.
Sure.
This is super important for drug discovery because then the drug companies can target those genes that are responsible for diseases. So that's like a game changer.
Yeah.
And there's lots of use cases like this. 7-Eleven was able to automate most of their marketing stack.
Yeah.
So before, you would have to do your own segmentation, like who should I show this material to, who this will be interesting to. And then you would have to create the material for that segment manually. Now the agents can actually prepare a lot of that material themselves. They can generate images, they can rewrite the text to target a specific group. You can do that much faster now. I could keep going. RBC, Royal Bank of Canada. Basically, when an earnings call comes out, you guys will like this.
Yeah.
Earnings call comes out. It fetches the earnings call. It looks at all the previous earnings calls, looks at earnings calls of competitors, looks at what's going on in the market, looks on, the sentiment, and then writes up an equity research report using the tone of the equity research analyst. And they can get this out in 15 minutes, which is, usually in the industry, it's at least 2 hours or several hours.
Sure.
So and every minute
counts.
Matters.
Yeah.
Every second.
Exactly. So those are some of the use cases you're seeing out there. So it is taking off.
Yeah.
We're kind of focused on this. I call it sort of get stuff done or GSD AI rather than super intelligence AI.
How much of those examples there's a great case studies, very very tangible in a world where there's not many tangible AI narratives or how many of those case studies came from companies that were already using Lakehouse or a data warehousing product, and then you came to them and they were comfortable working with you, or they felt like they would be sped up on working with you on the AI side because they were already comfortable with you housing the data for probably years?
Yeah. Almost all of them. Let me explain why, though.
Yeah.
There's a reason why. It's not just, hey, we know each other and I'm comfortable with you.
Yeah.
It's the fact that AI today, like large language models, are actually a commodity. I mean, they're the coolest thing that ever happened, but they're already a commodity. What I mean by commodity is just like oil. You could get your gas from this gas station, you can get it from that gas station, slightly different in price. It doesn't really matter for your car, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with LLMs. You can get this LLM or that LLM. You don't even know the difference. This week, this one is better. That week, that one is better at, coding. This week, this one can do reasoning. This one can do images. So it's a commodity. So actually, it's now a commodity to have a generative AI model that can answer any question about the world and the history, and it's super smart. What is super elusive and you can't get your hands on is an AI that can actually reason on proprietary private enterprise data. Okay, that actually doesn't exist because the techniques used to generate these AI models work on huge amounts of data. Like when I mean huge, I mean like the whole internet. Like take all the data and crunch it. It doesn't work on a smaller data that enterprises have. So how do you then make the AI work on that data that you already have inside the enterprise, right? This could be electronic medical records that are sensitive. It could be financial models that are super secretive. It's your recipe for your alpha generation. So what you need to do is you need to get a good data foundation there. And that's the lakehouse that you're talking about. And then the governance and the security on top of that with Unity Catalog. Those are the kind of things you have to get in place first before you can unleash the AI on it. So that's why. It's not that they just know us, it's that they've been at it for a long time. And actually, if you haven't gotten that foundation right, if your data is a mess, it doesn't help. If your data is sitting in on-premise in some old database, some Oracle database, and it's locked away, what help is this commodity AI that you have on the top?
Yeah. What advice do you have for founders that are building their business in and around open source technologies? We talk to a lot of young founders that are open sourcing something really cool. They have a bunch of GitHub stars. There's energy. They don't really have a business model yet, but you can see that they're delivering value, and at some point they're going to capture it. What are the do's and don'ts of growing up and being a good steward of an open source project or being a good partner to the open source ecosystem? What would you counsel a founder in that situation?
Yeah, that's $1 billion question. It's very hard to get that right.
Yeah.
What I would say is, number one, there's actually kind of two requirements, and there's like an analogy I have that you kind of have to get right.
Yeah.
First of all, realize it's a very difficult sport. The sport that you're about to get into, open source, and to monetize and create, it's like not an easy sport. So, preferably don't get into it because you might, get hurt.
Yeah.
But if you decided, if you're hell bent on doing this, then you can think of it as, your strategy basically is to hit 2 home runs after each other consecutively. The first home run, and you're banking on hitting that home run, is for your open source project to take over the world. Everybody wants to download it. It's like the greatest thing ever. If you don't hit that first home run, you just shot yourself in the foot because you just gave away all of your intellectual property and you got nothing back for it. And now you have nothing. So you better have a first home run and the open source project takes over the world. So that's like step number 1. Now you've achieved that. Congrats to you. Everybody's paying attention. They're downloading your open source project. The GitHub stars are just like, going vertical. It's awesome. You don't have any monetizable business. You cannot make any money. So then comes home run number 2. Home run number 2 is now you have a 10x, just as good as the first one, innovation on top of the open source. And that's the proprietary value that you're going to provide to these companies. That's why they come to you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they can get open source anywhere. And that's how you monetize. And now you have the sort of secret sauce to a really successful company. If you don't hit the second one, the problem is now the big guys, the hyperscalers and others, just pick up your open source model and they offer it up for almost free. How do you compete with that? How do you compete with that free? That's where you need your second home run. So it's very difficult.
Yeah, so I want to double click on that part particularly. How do you compete because we have other founders that have an open source project and it's growing and they're doing well. And then we see the press release from one of the hyperscalers that their product is now a feature. Their child has been abducted into the cloud. And it's always you can just tell, no matter how they respond, it's a scary moment. It's an existential moment. We know that there's a board meeting happening. If you're in, a board meeting, a fly on the wall, an advisor or something, and there's a founder who says, "Oh, one of the hyperscalers just launched a clone of our product. They're really going to come for us this quarter, maybe next quarter." What do you advise them to stay in the game while the capital cannon of the Mag 7 is pointed directly at them?
Well formulated. So I actually get that call from the founder day before the board meeting, and they're like, "Oh my God, what do I do? My life is over."
Yeah.
And I tell them, "Congratulations. You just proved that you hit your first home run.
Yep.
They're paying attention to you. So now they're coming after you.
Yep.
So now you need to do another home run." Okay? But your first home run, you just actually succeeded.
This is a home run business.
Everybody's attention.
Yeah. It's a home run business.
They would not direct all those cannons towards you if you didn't have anything. So you have something, now they're coming after you. So now you need to innovate and you need to actually monetize that. Yeah. And that portion you cannot open source. Yeah. If you do, they'll just keep, milking that with their cannons, right? So that's the way to go about it. And it's a normal part of life. And by the way, we all went through it. I went through it. I remember waking up, cold sweats in the middle of the night and, freaking out about oh my God, this thing will kill us. But the good news is if you continue innovating, you can stay ahead because, the people that want to copy you, they're always going to be a few years behind. So if you continue executing, you can stay ahead. Mm-hmm. And if you did a home run once, you can probably do it again if you set your mind to it. So just the trick is to stay ahead, right? Because the way it works is that startups, the main thing going on is that they don't have time on their side, right? Like if you could freeze all startups for 12 months, all the Mag 7 would catch up immediately and there would be no startups, right? So your whole thing is outrun the big guys very, very fast. So that's another thing I tell them. Don't slow down. Move very, very fast. Continue innovating.
Yeah, I love that. I have
How do
one
you
more, but-
how do you categorize everything that's happening in AI? Like, what is your personal framework? Because like what you're doing is very different than, let's say, a foundation model lab, which is different than maybe an end wrapper company.
Is
like,
picks and shovels a pejorative? Is that a pejorative?
No, I mean, look, Levi's still around. I don't know how many of those gold diggers are around.
That's true. That's a great point. I never thought about that.
Yeah, it's still here, kicking, here in San Francisco.
Yeah.
But I would say there's kind of like three paradigms going on at the same time. Paradigm number one is the quest for superintelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And the quest for superintelligence, requires bigger and bigger data centers, more and more gigawatts, and it's very resource intensive. And the idea is to come up with such a smart model that can improve itself to the point that we don't it's just curing cancer and coming up with new AI models. And of course, we should be really afraid of the, safety aspects of that. So that's like, what the frontier labs are doing. I would say, category two is the researchers that created these models in the first place, like Jan LeCun or Rich Sutton, who created reinforcement learning, that technique. They'll actually tell you like, hey, that's not going to actually work. You're not going to get to superintelligence that way because that's not how humans learn or animals learn and so on. So they're like, hey, leave us alone and we'll get to something in 20 years, which to me sounds like a little bit like, hey, we don't really know, leave us alone. Then there's the third camp. The third camp is, hey, we already have all the AGI we already need. We might not have super intelligence, but we have artificial general intelligence. I'm in that camp. I believe we already have artificial general intelligence. It's generally intelligent. Just use it and you'll be convinced within like 5 minutes. It's pretty smart.
Yeah.
Okay. So now start applying it and get stuff done inside of an enterprise or inside of an organization. Just GSD, deliver AI value on basic tasks. And if you're unsure, start with the simplest mundane tasks that, are, really low cost right now. See if you can start augmenting and automating them.
How did you process the talent wars this year? I think the question on my mind is, will we see, a $1 billion pay package in 2 years from now, or even in next year, right? But I'm curious how you processed it as somebody.
Was
who's
it a
been in this
one-time
space.
thing, or is it a new normal?
That was last year, guys. I think Noam at Character got like $1 billion, right? I mean, they paid billions for Character.ai.
Yeah.
And that was literally $1 billion for one guy, at least $1 billion. So that's already done that. So, 10 billion is the next, I guess, package to go for. And maybe that was Alex at Meta. But, joking aside, I think that it's also in everybody's interest to exaggerate these numbers.
Yeah.
Like the joke among CEOs is, let's exaggerate that number, right? It's like, companies are making like $100 billion offers for my employees. Because when you say that, what happens is that, first of all, if they
you must have a great team.
Yeah, first of all, it's like a compliment to your team. Second, if someone comes after someone in your team now, they're going to expect at least that amount. If they don't, they feel insulted.
Exactly.
You're not even offering me $1 billion. What's going on here? So that's
they don't value my skill set, clearly.
Exactly, right? So it dissuades everyone. So I think there's also a little bit like self-reported numbers here going on. The market is not as crazy as people say, but it has been pretty nutty, and especially on the research side. In AI, but actually I think it's coming. Like it used to be the case that if you're a big shot professor in AI, you could get funding, huge amounts of funding for crazy valuations. And if you could just say, I want to just do research and get to superintelligence. Those days are over actually already. It's no longer the case that that pitch doesn't work anymore. And there's no capital. Like you're not going to get $1 billion or $2 billion to go just do research on AI. You need to have something more than that. So I do think actually the market is coming to its senses.
The timeline, the last 24 hours, has been fixated on the role of storytelling within companies. You're a fantastic storyteller, like very just fun to listen to and animated. I'm curious, were you always goated, or did you have humble beginnings?
There's no way to answer that question, right? It's like a trick question.
I'm saying no, it's not. I genuinely believe there are founders that come out and they're seed stage. And they're hyper engaging and they're incredible to listen to and they get you excited and motivated. And then there are other founders that like have to really learn. But I think it's like in some ways it's like you either have it or you don't.
Yeah, look, I think there's many things that go into like running companies. Like one of them, ingredient number one is to be engaging and excite people and get people excited about your vision. Right. But number two, you also need a good strategy. If you don't have a good strategy, eventually it's going to catch up to you. Number three, you need to put together an amazing, stellar, world-class team. Right. That's all that matters. Because if you're amazing, but your team is not, then you're not going to go anywhere. even if you have all of these, it's not enough. You need to also execute. Like you need to actually get the team to execute again and again and again and get to the results. And that kind of matters more than anything else. I mean, look at AWS, like they're phenomenal at executing, right? And then finally, 5, you need to do it with good culture. If the culture is not good, it will eat you up from inside. The key people will leave. We've seen, companies that went under because the culture was bad or the CEO got fired and, they went through tough times and, the authorities were after them for fraud and these kind of things. So you kind of have to nail all these 5. It's the unfortunate truth.
Is it Series L now? You're quickly running out of letters of the alphabet. We have to ask, are you going to be hanging out with us at the New York Stock Exchange anytime soon, or are there no plans to go public? Because we'd love to
we can hang out interview. We can hang out there. We can hang out there anytime at the New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ. But whether we're going to go public, look, I wouldn't rule it out that we would be public by end of next year. But it's also not like it's guaranteed.
Sure.
Because the thing I want to avoid is what happened in 2022.
Yeah.
In 2021, I had a lot of peers that were so excited. They took their companies public. They're by the way, great storytellers, great execution machines. They were awesome.
Yeah.
But then interest rates went up, inflation went up, and in 2022 they said, "Hey man, you got to get EBITDA. You got to produce margins." So what did they do? They all did layoffs, and they all produced EBITDA. And what did they cut down on? All the futuristic stuff, all the innovation, all the new products, and also employee morale kind of tanked.
Yeah,
because employees are like, "I don't trust you anymore. You said this company is going to do well, but now you're firing my friend here." So as you can see, we're not growing twice the growth rate of many of those companies.
Sure.
And I think staying private in 2022 had something to do with it as well. We're not trying to exactly time the market. We're trying to win it.
Yeah. Do you think that the narrative around open source LLMs is over? Do you think it's understood? Because the DeepSeek moment was a moment when everyone was saying, "Oh, maybe open source will win, or it'll have a serious shaping of the market structure in AI." It feels like folks have a much more concrete thesis around the shape of the AI market, with an aggregator winning in consumer, and then maybe more of an oligopoly in enterprise code gen and API businesses, and certainly the open source models fit into that. But how are you thinking about open source AI models developing maybe in next year or the year after?
Yeah, I would just say that open source has always been a commoditizer in business.
Sure.
Like when Linux showed up, is the greatest thing that's happening right now in the world Linux? No. But what did it do? It kind of commoditized Windows, right? And significantly so. And we've seen that again and again and again. So what it does, it sets the price of the IP of the open source project down to 0. Okay. So that price of that intellectual property shrinks to 0 overnight.
Yeah.
And that's great because that basically puts pressure on the LLM foundation model layer to have lower and lower prices. And the lower those prices go, the complementary market, the market on top, which is us with Agent Bricks and Lakebase, our database for agents, helps that market because it makes our COGS, our cost of goods sold, which is we would pay for those LLMs, lower. So I think that's going to continue happening. Yeah. And in particular, one interesting trend is that China is putting the pressure on just open sourcing everything. They're not just open sourcing the large language models and the weights. They're open sourcing the whole stack, everything they did. This is the way we open sourced it. This is the data we use. Here's a research paper. And they're having really fast diffusion of innovation happening in China. And that also puts pressure on the West. Over here, we're like, okay, we can't fall behind. So we're doing the same thing over here. So I think that's just going to continue.
Yeah. People, I completely understand that narrative. And it does seem like it feels like China's commoditizing American foundation labs. And you easily fall into this geopolitical narrative. But is there a world where in China, it's really just the classic open source technology with a for-profit corporation wrapped around it, and they're trying to build the Red Hat of LLMs over there, and that's the real motivation more than just some crazy wrench in the system?
Well, I think that I don't exactly know how the Communist Party thinks and what they are doing, but I think that over here we will have companies that are already doing that. If you talk to startups already, many of the startups in the United States are actually using the open source models and the Chinese models. By the way, what's already happened, which people don't talk about openly, it's really hush-hush, is that they're taking these Chinese models and kind of distilling them, and you get an American model, right, with an American name, and you don't know that it actually tracks back to Quen from Alibaba or something like that. That's already happening in this market. But like, look at the vast majority of startups. A huge amount of open source Chinese models that are being used by American open source models. And I think you'll have actually Red Hat-like companies here, even here in the United States, that will say, hey, we'll help you get up to speed, use the right ones, make sure it has the right safety and guardrails, and you're not taking any risk, and we do it at low cost. That's already happening in some sense. And then there are people who do that in the cloud. We actually help you do that. At Databricks, we are multi-LLM. So we have OEM. So OpenAI is available natively to all of our customers. Anthropic is natively available to all of our customers. And Gemini is natively available. So it's like if you're using Databricks, those three are actually under the hood. And then we have all the open source models to let you. So since we're the next layer on top, right, that's the complementary market that I was talking about. So I think this will continue. And I think actually that's good for innovation that's happening. There's so much pressure on that middle layer because it is a very lucrative layer, right? I mean, look, as judging from the valuations of Anthropic and OpenAI that are very well deserved, that's an important market. So I think this will just continue. You'll see more and more open source. That's not going to stop. And it's going to be from China. My prediction is that you're going to also see that now from Europe and United States. Because, do we want Chinese models to take over the whole planet in open source? I think that some nations will say, hey, why don't we just get together and fund a supercomputer and then build one here? By the way, we used to do that back in the day. It was called supercomputers. National labs that had supercomputers. The largest computers on the planet used to be supercomputers, state funded. That's going to start happening, in either this country or that country. And once that starts, everyone wants to get in. Like, United States is going to have the biggest one, right? So that's my prediction.
What does your sales process look like at this stage? Like, where are you investing time specifically with customers that are in the pipeline? Like, what's the highest leverage, and what does even the workflow look like?
I mean, we have many different segments at Databricks. There's a self-serve segment.
Yeah.
You can actually sign up. There's a free edition of Databricks that's really important funnel for us. The free edition, anyone can just sign up with their Gmail and use Databricks forever, but you don't get, lots of compute. You don't get lots of AI. You get a little sliver. So you get a taste of Databricks forever. Then, we have...
Good. This is your sales process. You're selling right now. Always.
You should try it out. You guys have a Gmail address. If you have a Gmail address, go to databricks.com/try. And so once you've done that, so then comes the trial. The trial, it's like, okay, but that was just a sliver of compute. I mean, I want to process a lot of LLMs. I want to use the bigger models. I want to do more interesting things with agent bricks, or I want to have my database with Lakebase. Then I would say get the free trial. So free trial will give you, I think, $200 or something like that, and you get to spend $200 for free with us. And so that's sort of the funnel. And then from there, people convert. This is really how most SMBs, mid-market companies, that's how they get started on Databricks.
I'm talking about the big dogs.
Yeah, how different is the organization? Do these people, like the person who maybe is responsible at some level for the biggest deal you've ever done, and the person who's responsible for the smallest deal, have these people ever met in the organization? Are they completely separate? Is there some cross-functional opportunity? Because they're very different functions, I imagine. One is steak dinner, the other's like UI, UX, I would imagine, but I don't know.
Well, believe it or not, the steak dinner days are kind of over.
Okay.
I mean, like it's not like, hey, we'll just take you out and we have like the best golf players and we have the best drinkers that,
To be clear, if you take us out to a steak dinner, I mean, we'll go to databricks.com/try. I would.
Yeah, and you pay me $0. Exactly. That's the point, right? But
I was hoping I would sneak that by you. And,
exactly.
No,
but I would say
steak futures are selling off massively right now.
Exactly. Steak prices are just going down. Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry, guys. But what I would say is that, we actually have a funnel.
Okay.
So, you start maybe as a sales development leader.
Sure.
Actually, we have one at Databricks. A guy called Matt started just, hitting the phone, just getting these SMBs, and then grew with the business, then got into the sort of more mid-market accounts, and then now like on the enterprise side. So, we have people who grew up with Databricks, and they can, you learn to do the whole, all the way to the, it's a lot of it is just getting comfortable, right? Because it's like, it's one thing if I'm negotiating with you a $30,000 deal. Yeah. It's another thing if I'm negotiating with you a, $250 million deal. And, a lot of folks will just get nervous and they'll just start shaking, right? So, but how do you do that? How do you get that, $200 million deal? it actually goes back to those free editions and those things.
Yeah.
In that conversation with an exec high up, we will say, did you know that you're already leveraging open source Spark throughout the organization already? Did you know that you're already having people using the free edition with their Gmail accounts? You have all these trials. By the way, the things I'm telling you about today, if you don't trust me, you can go yourself try it out in the free edition. So actually that kind of motion, bottom up motion, helps a lot, even in the top down big enterprise sales. But there, the goal is, what are the transformational projects that you want us to help you with? And how do we really drive business value for your organization? Like, what's a big strategic board level initiative? Let us help you make you successful with that. With
we're trying to get to 24 hours a day, and so we're really trying to use AI 24 hours a day live. Use AI to optimize when John sleeps, when I sleep, all that stuff. Anyways, this has been super fun. Congratulations to the whole team on the milestone.
We'll save it for next time.
And looking forward to the next letter.
Awesome.
Have a great rest of your day. Cheers. Thanks so much for coming on the show. We'll talk to you soon.
What a legend.
Yeah, what a legend. He's such a great CEO, such a great conversation.
More breaking news. Kushner's Affinity withdraws from Warner Bros.
No way.
Takeover
Wow,
battle.
this is breaking news right now.
Jared Kushner is exiting from the takeover battle. Affinity was helping to finance Paramount's bid for Warner Brothers, but now believes the dynamics of an investment have changed since it became involved in the process. The battle for Warner Brothers stands to reshape the entertainment industry, regardless of which bidder emerges victorious. With both bids
reading between the lines, I think we know what happened. Jared Kushner, clearly a Foghorn Leghorn fan.
Yeah.
Not enough Looney Tunes in the deal. Not enough Porky Pig.
I'm out.
Not enough Foghorn Leghorn.
And on that,
said, I'm out.
I'm out.
I'm out. I can't support this. If David Ellison is going to pull the plug on the Looney Tunes Cinematic Universe reboot and 3 trilogies of Foghorn Leghorn live action, I'm out. I'm not doing it. This is very exciting. It feels like, is it going to land with Netflix? We're back and forth on this now. But it feels like Netflix has certainly the upper hand, a lot of support, and barring some wild card in Washington, wild card with the shareholders, they're set up. I mean, the board has accepted the offers. Zaslav is moving his thumbs up.
I don't
on
know.
it, right?
Ellisons haven't given their best and final offer, though. We know that. They said that themselves.
Maybe.
So,
and I mean,
we'll
to
see.
be clear, there are other sources of capital beyond Affinity Partners. So, they could clearly marshal the capital. I mean, Larry Ellison himself has it. He's worth $250 billion. We're talking 80. We're talking 90. We're talking 100. It's a lot, but there is a lot of money there to, pool around if you need to. Anyways,
I wouldn't be surprised if in the next 24 hours we see a new offer. Right there, you have current one likely. Zaslav pushing to reject the offer.
Sure.
This is the moment where they kind of need to up the ante a little bit.
Well, we got to get one of our media correspondents back on the show because that's been the highlight of last week was talking to Dylan Byers and Ben Smith about media and getting up to speed on the story behind the Warner Brothers Netflix Paramount deal. Anyway, in other big company news, the Unilever CEO disclosed Nutrafol and Liquid IV revenues. Have you ever been a Liquid IV guy?
No. Element guy.
You're an Element guy. That's right. You like salt, not whatever's in Liquid IV. Sugar? Is it sugar?
Sugar. It is base though. Sugar is very good for hydration.
You like it. I really enjoy the Liquid IV. Actually, I gotta say, I just turned from Liquid IV because I'm on the new Chris Williamson creatine in the stick pack. Yeah, that one, the new tonic that the elf is putting under the tree this week. The new tonic creatine stick pack. You can open it up and show what they actually look like. Just pull the whole thing off. Oh yeah, that's fine. So it's this little stick pack, like Liquid IV, like the one that you were having, Elementi, but it has creatine in there, 5 grams of creatine in there, and normally I'm used to drinking the creatine sand, and this is fantastic. It's so delicious. Yes, you can just shoot it back if you want to be the boldest elf in Santa's workshop.
Ben just texted, wrist check the elf.
Wrist check the elf. That's hilarious. But anyway, back to Liquid IV world. In a fireside chat with JP Morgan, the Unilever CEO revealed that both Nutrafol and Liquid IV have entered the $1 billion brand club. I don't know if you want to ring the bell.
Go for it. I'll take the next one. Entered the $1 billion brand club. Great execution from Unilever. Sometimes when they announce these acquisitions, it sounds a little crazy. They pay a lot, but they know how to scale. They have the distribution.
Yeah.
They are soft circling 1.5 billion euros per year for M&A. I was thrilled to see this. I have a lot of friends with CPG businesses that are starting to get to a scale where they are prime targets, and I'm just very excited for them.
So Liquid IV, they bought it when it was doing 120, and now it's doing over $1 billion. What a good run. Do we know what they paid for Liquid IV back in the day? How much did that deal cost them? That would be interesting. Because, but I mean, it is a testament to the CPG founders.
500 million.
500 million, and now they're making $1 billion a year in revenue. I mean, I don't know that they're 50% net margins,
well, it's
but
very
they might,
high margin.
I would think it's high margin. And so imagine you sell for 500. You're the founder of this company. You're doing 120. You sell for 500, and you're like, this is amazing. I have a $120 million business. But then 5 years later, they're making 500. What they paid for you in that 1 year, they're making that every year for as long as the brand's around. So don't underestimate just compounding at scale with these businesses. Get what you deserve. Don't take.
No, I think Liquid Death will be a good case study there because they certainly would have had opportunities to sell. They raised a huge amount of money, and they kind of probably took them out.
And there were a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's overvalued now." But if you just keep compounding, keep getting in more, I completely agree. Just like there's no one else that's really going after that particular brand positioning. You let it compound, it becomes this unique thing. It becomes Lindy, basically. And whenever we talk about CPG,
speaking of compounding,
what's compounding?
Anne over at Forbes says, beloved productivity app Notion told employees today it is doing a $300 million tender at an $11 billion valuation. The company crossed 600 million ARR, half of which comes from AI.
That is fantastic.
Watch out for more Notion rounds / an IPO. I expect that they will get out in God willing, in the year 2026.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
That'd be amazing.
They are on a tear. Notion was a $2 million seed, according to Jason, to $11 billion in 12 years.
That's crazy.
Great case study of growing into your valuation.
That's
Jason
amazing.
says 2013, $2 million seed.
Yeah, if you scroll down on this chart, you can see a huge jump in valuation, and it takes them a while to catch up.
This was the journey. So 2013 they had a $2 million seed. 2019 they had $3 million of ARR, and they got to an $800 million valuation.
That's crazy.
2020 they're at $13 million of ARR to a $2 billion valuation.
Yeah.
2021, 31 million of ARR to a $2 billion valuation.
That is so crazy because, I mean, if this number's right, they basically triple revenue, not even triple revenue, and they see their multiple double. Their multiple doubles from 150x to 300.
But then from 2021, they grew revenue from 31 million to 600 million, and the valuation went up 10%.
And it was the correct. It was the correct. Yeah, it eventually caught up. Wow.
Amazing execution.
Run.
Obviously, the VCs in 2021 are not
involved.
Getting an insane IRR on that. But
job's not finished. And story's not over. But
they're in the green.
What a remarkable revenue ramp. So everyone that was paying for it, they were
says,
just ahead.
Price of the brick going up.
We
missed saying that.
We should have hit him with the
Ali.
bricks, but it was good chatting with him. So as we know, Databricks raised a
Brandon Balo says this is crazy. The Lululemon leggings to oil ratio just hit a new high. You can now buy 2 barrels of oil for every 1 pair of Lululemon.
What are we talking about?
High rise. Like this is one of the most important economic metrics in the world, John. Obviously, this says so much about the state of markets.
Yeah, I mean, hilarious. Also, it is making me feel like Lululemon leggings are made from oil.
Well, I think they
sort of are, right? Isn't
it?
It's like petroleum-based polyester or something. I don't know.
Yes.
There's something.
From my understanding, yes. TJ Parker
maybe this is fake news.
Posted this.
This
and
is
said,
so good.
Before there was TBPN.
Look at him on Fox Business.
It's funny because this
CVS
headline
killer,
is crazy. The
question
CVS
mark.
killer, he looks kind of like the guy that would kill someone in a CVS.
Is this who is the CVS killer? Did they ever find the real one, or did he ever get brought in for questioning?
He does. I'm gonna say he looks more like a young Santa Claus.
Okay, yeah,
kind of.
That's a much nicer thing to say.
I take it back.
But wow, countdown to the closing bell. In 3 minutes, he hops on CVS killer. And I don't know, he didn't quite kill CVS, but what a fantastic run with PillPack. Absolutely legendary business. And he's already on to the next one at General Medicine. So it's fantastic.
Singer Vehicles just put up a minute 22
This is huge news. This is the biggest news in technology these days, I think. So Laguna Seca, the legendary racetrack in California. This is an American hypercar. So the
production car lap record.
The story here is that Koenigsegg set the lap record just a few weeks ago, and Lucas Singer took it personally. And he said, I'm going to go and put up a better time, and he did. But this car is insane. So it's a two-seater, but they're both centered. Yeah. So it's like a fighter jet. I don't know why everyone's lying. Like
that's a very cool. That's like a very cool setup.
Yeah. So you sit like this, one after the other, and the doors. We need to pull up a picture of.
Why are you guys laughing?
Doors
That's
on this.
just fire. I've never heard.
Okay, so
anything like I've never heard of that before.
If you go to 4 seconds on this main video, the Laguna Seca video here on X, you can see the doors. So the doors are two doors long because you need to let 2 people in. So when you open
and I'm sure they're planning to let it fly at some point.
It's absolutely
Don't you think
crazy.
part of that it's ready to they have a secret feature trying to beat Elon to the flying car like he was alluding on Joe Rogan?
So there has been a recent hypercar war at Laguna. This is specifically for the production car record. Zinger just took it by 2 seconds. So in August of 2024, Koenigsegg strikes. Koenigsegg brought the Jesco attack to Laguna Seca for the first time. They got a 124.86, beating the previous long-standing benchmark held by the Singer 21C and the McLaren Senna at 125, 120, and 127. So Singer had it at 125. Then Koenigsegg shows up with the Jesco attack, gets it at 124. Then they come back, lowered the speed record. There's this new noise limit at Laguna Seca. Your car cannot make more than 90 decibels of noise from the exhaust. I assume Brian Johnson had something to do with this, but you have to bolt on a special exhaust so you're not too loud while you're going on the track. And of course that affects track performance. And so they reset the record. And Koenigsegg comes back. They have a specific Jesco attack for this new Laguna restriction. They get a 124, and then Singer comes back on December 9th, just weeks after their Koenigsegg's November run. Singer returns with their 3D printed hybrid 21C. Driver Joel Miller runs a blistering 122. And so...
and put into context, the 992 GT3 RS is doing it at 128.65. So
it's basically
quite a
a
big
slug.
gap.
Basically walking. Basically walking speed.
Walking speed.
Wow. Well, congrats to Lucas Singer.
This is almost unbelievable. Yeah. For me to believe that it's real, he's going to have to drive it into the...
I think he is. He wants us to believe that this was built by humans. I don't. It seems like alien technology. Probably
make it make sense. Make it make
sense. No, it's a beautiful, beautiful vehicle. Anyway.
Anyways, final post of the show.
Okay.
We posted this yesterday as well, but Future was named Friend of the House by Louis Vuitton for embodying its values. Okay. And Louis Pisano says, and what values would those be? I don't
know enough about Louis Vuitton to understand what this means.
Well, it's funny. Do you know about Future's values?
No.
Have you ever? You haven't listened to a Future song?
I just know. No, I really don't know.
I mean, I think his primary value is getting getting the bag.
Getting the bag.
And so that's kind of how I
Well,
read
they
it.
make bags.
He has, I think, a lot of children with a lot of different women as well, I think.
Getting the
So
bag.
maybe I don't know if that's one of Louis Vuitton's values. But
we were talking about a friend, and he was saying like the whole goal, we're in the getting the bag business. Everyone wants to get their bag, get the bag, secure the bag. And I thought that, that is a good goal, but there is an alternative, which is to secure a series of smaller bags every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks.
Paid directly to you.
Like
A
with someone
bag
like
that you
Gusto.
have on your bank account. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So you're getting a series of small bags that then compound over time. You throw them in a large sack like your Santa Claus. But no one talks about getting the sack. Everyone talks about getting the bag. No one talks about getting the Santa Claus sack. But you have to get the bag. You get a series of small bags over a lifetime. You accumulate a bag that gets larger and larger until you have the real bag.
Well, here's another post about life from Colty Bra. I know I said it was the last one, but I take it back.
Okay.
Colty Bra says, a fantastic poster over the years. He says, you can just do things, go from Olympic snowboarder to head of cartel, $50 million reward from FBI on your head. Life is short. Let it rip.
Absolutely do not let it rip. I do not recommend becoming the head of a cartel. That is insane. But, of course, this is a very wild story.
Maybe become the head of a $50 million annual revenue business in a sort of legal domain.
Maybe an enterprise software.
Enterprise software, SaaS.
Maybe a database.
Life is short. Go from an Olympic snowboarder to a SaaS icon. Let it rip.
Yeah.
Life is short. And we'll leave it at that.
We'll leave it at
We are actually going.
Breaking news from Tyler.
I have
What
some
we
other
got?
news if you want. OpenAI got rid of their model router for free users. I thought that was pretty interesting.
What does that mean? Wait, they got rid of it for free users?
So if you
What does
like
getting
four-
rid
if
of
you
it
like
mean?
4.0,
It is
get
always
ready
there
to
for.
enjoy
Is
paid.
it the model picker or the model router?
The
Is it
model-
always on auto, or can you still, or do you have to pick Thinking Pro legacy models? Like, how do you pick the model?
Yeah, so I think it's the router. So that means that the picker's still there, but it doesn't automatically do it for you.
It just defaults to fast or the basic model.
I don't know which one it does. I'm not
Unless
either,
you
but
ask
I would
for-
imagine that, like, if I was thinking through it, like, I would think it would be the opposite, right?
Yeah, totally.
Because as a pro user, I want to
Do pro all the time.
Yeah, I want
You want to
like,
get
pick
what you
which one
paid
I
for,
want, right?
Yeah, you want to get what you paid for, but the free user.
Yeah, who you think is like the unsophisticated person? They don't know which
them.
one to use. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, we'll have to dig in. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. Merry Christmas to everyone.
Trey
Happy
says
holidays.
cartels only get a bad rap because they don't have a head storyteller. I feel like Escobar
do.
was low key an incredible storyteller.
I don't think so. I think people told stories about him. I don't think he was doing
He
any
was in
storytelling.
politics.
Maybe. Okay. Well, we'll get to the bottom of that
He was
tomorrow.
a politician.
Have a good rest of your day. Merry Christmas.
Thanks for hanging out with us
We will
today.
see you tomorrow at
It
11
feels
a.m.
like a
sharp.
Friday.
It does.
Very
When you put
weirdly.
on the Santa suit.
It does feel like a Friday.
The
We are
guys are
going
laughing
go
'cause they're
karting.
not-
We are
they're
doing a little
gonna
end of year
tease the
team
ending.
outing. We're going go karting
Yeah.
as a
As a team,
team.
which